Hey everybody, welcome to the Player's Take, episode 26. I am your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice.
Hey.
For those of you who haven't listened before, the Player's Take is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and your favorite podcast app of choice. So a little bit of news. We haven't sat down to record in a couple weeks. Things have kind of gotten crazy in my personal life. My father passed away on June 15th.
Rest in peace.
I'm okay with it now. It's been about a week and a half, so I'm doing okay myself. But we are going to continue to record the show because I love this show. It's very therapeutic for me.
Yep.
And also, I don't want to miss an episode. So continue to expect shows. However, I want to kind of go over some scheduling things real quick.
I was going to say that.
So I'm going to be gone next week, so we're doing another double record today. So we're recording episode 26. This is going to be a regular episode with news, what we've been playing, game releases, all that stuff. Next week's episode is going to be probably a very shortened show. It's probably going to be the shortest show we've ever done. It's literally going to be a topic, basically like a topic of the show, kind of an evergreen kind of thing. That's all we're going to be able to manage because I'm going to be gone from Sunday through Friday, which is literally every day we could possibly record. So, that'll be that. The next week, that will be a regular episode again. So news and everything. So we'll have 2 weeks of news again to go over. And then potentially the next two episodes after that. So that would be, I think, 30 and 31.
Yes.
Probably. Or
32, 31,
29
32.
and 30.
29 and 30. Yeah.
Those will more than likely be truncated evergreen topic of the show kind of episodes again, because Montrell is going to be gone the whole week from the 16th or the 15th through the we might be able to fit an episode.
I might be able to fit an episode
maybe
because
we'll see how scheduling goes.
17th to the 20th, I think they said something like that.
Okay. So that might be an evergreen episode, might be a normal one, but then the next week after that definitely will be a topic of the show episode, because I'm going to be gone again for like 8 days in a row. No way, I won't be able to record at all. So just to keep you guys updated on that. After that, we'll be pretty much good for a while. I think you might have another trip in August, maybe, or something like that. But we'll figure that out when we get there. So I just we wanted to keep everybody apprised of all that stuff. You're gonna get shows every week. They may be a little different, but we wanted to make sure we had something to upload. So
we love you guys.
we do. Man, I love this show.
Okay?
Very excited to do this episode today. So let's get started with what we've been playing. I guess I'll get started this time.
All right, cool.
So I got back on Thursday from Boston, and dude, did I go into a gaming binge of the likes of which I have not seen myself do in a long ass time. Like, I beat Wargroove on Switch.
Cool.
And man, the more I play that game, the more I like it. Dude, the end of that game is really fun. The back half of the game, like the maps are really complicated. There's a lot going on. You have all the units like basically at your disposal at that point, and dude, it's just really fun. They add like water units, so there's like ships and stuff that you get to use. It's really like, it gets really cool. So the game is really fun. I'm done with the main campaign, but I am currently going through the arcade mode, which is like a bunch of puzzles that you can do. There's 25 of them, and they're basically one turn puzzles. So you have to figure out how to beat the map in one turn. Which is really cool. It's really fun. It lets you have to like use the units kind of strengths and weaknesses and whatnot, and kind of balance that and figure out how you can kill the commander in one turn. It's really interesting in that regard. So I really recommend this game. It was on sale a couple weeks ago, so I assume it'll be on sale again at some point. But even not, $20, dude. This is a great game for $20. There's a lot of content here. I think and also there's fan-made maps and stuff that the community has made. And there's more and more kind of coming. Even if you are finished with the main campaign, you want more, you can get more from the community too.
Gotcha.
So I really recommend this game. This is probably one of my favorite games this year that we played. It's like I was saying, it was like I felt like it was like an 8. I'm higher on it now. I'm probably more like 8 points.
I remember you were into it, but you weren't like really into it. It was
I will
different
say
for you.
It's because the early game is really slow and restrictive. You don't have very many unit types available to you. It's really just like basic basic swordsmen and pikemen and archers.
Okay.
And you don't have a lot of the, like, later in the game you get like golems and dragons and all sorts of crazy shit, dude. Like, you know, so the game gets really complex and a lot harder. Early on it's very simple and it's kind of boring for that.
Gotcha.
In that sense. So the early game maps weren't super fun for me, but the further I got in the game, the more fun it became because more stuff unlocked. So and the maps get really interesting too. It's not the same thing every time. Like some of the maps, like you don't even get to recruit units. It's literally just they give you like 4 commanders and you have to figure out how to beat the map with 4 commanders and stuff. It's very interesting. So the map design was very good.
Okay.
I think this game is really well made. I hope they make a second one because I will probably.
This was made by an indie game company.
Yeah.
Right?
It's Chucklefish, the publisher. Chucklefish, right? They're a publisher. I think they're a publisher. But yeah, it was made by an indie game team. I don't know how big, but they did a really good job.
Okay, because I know they said the people who made it wanted to simulate Advanced Wars.
Yeah, they did a medieval take on that, and dude, it's really fun. So highly recommended. I've also been playing more Fell Seal, Arbiter's Mark. I continue to like this game a lot, dude.
I was just about to ask you how you like it so far.
I really want to deep dive on this game, but it's one of those things I want to enjoy it. I don't want to beat it in like 2 days, so I'm just kind of taking it slow. I'm probably 10 to 15 hours in at this point. But dude, the game is it just continues to get better. It's a similar thing with Wargroove, like, but this one was like instantly good.
Yeah,
you know?
this was your tactics, like
and the character customization is so deep, it's crazy. There's like 40 classes in this game. It's nuts. It's just nuts. So I really, really, really dig this game. It's this one was $30, I think, but highly recommended at this price. I think the game is probably 40 to 45 hours to beat the campaign. It's a meaty game for something made by 2 people. I'm really impressed by what they were able to put together in this game. There's a lot of stuff in this game. Like, it's not just a campaign. There's side stuff to do. There's like an arena you can do. I haven't actually done it yet, but you get rewards from doing that. And then also there's like patrol missions you can do and all sorts of other stuff. So it's a very cool game from that regard. But the main game I've been playing this weekend was Grim Dawn. I went in on this game like I was up this game's ass this weekend. I think I put in 35 hours over 5 days. Yeah, I was a psychopath, dude. I was waking up and I was just playing this game for like fucking 10 hours straight. It was dude, I don't think I played anything like this, like basically since like God of War last year probably. Like, dude, I was so into this game, and it got into the point where I got my main character basically to the point where I don't think I can make it any better anymore without doing excessive amounts of grinding. So I kind of backed off. I'm gonna focus more probably on playing with Jet co-op and getting our characters to max. Okay. Because I got into the Shattered Realm, which is the new endless dungeon they made for this expansion, the newest expansion, and holy fuck, is that hard? It's insane. Like, dude, you're fighting. So basically, how it works is there's floors, and they're called shards, and every shard has 4 chunks, which is like rooms, basically. Yeah. Like kind of large rooms that have a bunch of enemies. You have to kill a certain number of enemies to get to the next chunk. Okay. So you do 3 chunks where it's just kind of a bunch of random enemies, heroes, smaller enemies, and things like that. And then you go to the 4th chunk of every shard, and it is a boss room. And in the boss room, there's multiple bosses. So early on, it's not too bad. It's only 2 bosses at a time. They're pretty weak. They're not really like the harder enemies. Yeah. But dude, oh my god, I got to shard 65, which is the one people recommend to farm. Okay. For like really good equipment, and I was trying to do it on ultimate because I had to cheese it. I got to 25 on ultimate, and then it was starting to get so prohibitively difficult that I went to normal. I was able to get to 30 by myself, but my game crashed when I was on 30, and I just got pissed. So I was like, I went down to normal because it was hard, and it was really time consuming, and I was afraid it was going to crash again. So I went down to normal, and I got through the next 40 shards pretty quickly within like 3 hours. And so I decided to, because they give you an item that lets you start at certain shards. So I used that in Ultimate to get to shard 65 to see if I could do it. And man, Dude, I was walking into the first room and I was getting obliterated, like destroyed. Like I couldn't even fight regular enemies anymore. It was like they were that powerful. So I went down to Elite, and it's like I can barely do it in Elite, like barely do it. Like the boss rooms, depending on the setup of the bosses, because what ends up happening is the boss rooms have 2 guaranteed nemesis bosses, which are like super bosses, basically. Like they're some of the hardest enemies in the game, essentially. 2 of those, and then you fight 2 other bosses at the same time. So you're fighting 4 bosses at once in this small little arena. It's like really tiny. Most of them are.
So you can't really kite and stuff like that.
It's very difficult to kite. You have to actually stand and fight most of the time. There is one room that is actually very large that you can kite in, but most of the other ones you can't. It's very difficult. So, dude, you basically have to be able to tank, and it's a nightmare. Like on Elite, I could do it. If I could separate them and not have to fight them all at once, I could kill them. But on Ultimate, I couldn't even get to the boss rooms. So it's like, I just kind of got fed up at a certain point. I started farming other stuff. So now I'm at the point, I don't think that build is going to be strong enough. Like, I literally can't make it strong enough to be able to do Shattered Realm. So the character I'm doing with Jet is easily going to be able to do it itself. Like, that's a class combo that is like one of the strongest in the game right now. So my plan is I'm going to play with Jet to 100 and then make that character kind of my uber farming character. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. But man, dude, I'm like, you think after that much time I'd be sick of the game, and I kind of did get sick of it on Monday. It was funny. I got really fed up with it like Sunday night, and I started playing Fell Seal for like 5 hours, and then I woke up Monday and I played Grim Dawn for a few hours, and I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. So I played Fell Seal some more, and then like around like 7 or 8, I was like, man, I want to play some Grim Dawn again. It was like, dude, I'm just like so into it. So I'm still just like super into this game. It's an absurd obsession at this point. But yeah, so I love this game. Highly recommend it. Please support it. If you like ARPGs, do yourself a favor and play this game. God damn. It's coming to Xbox soon, too.
I think it'll take off once it hit. I mean, it already took off now, but I think it'll really take off once it hit consoles.
Well, I've heard the controller support's really good, and I am now the owner of an Xbox One, so
really?
I might get it on there. Yeah, my dad had one, and my mom didn't want it, so I took it. So, yeah, I may get it on there and play it on there, actually. So, yeah, but that's pretty much all I have been playing. What about you?
I'll start with the stuff, the small stuff. I played God of War for about maybe an hour or two.
You're just like you're slogging through the game.
I'm slogging through it because I haven't really been at home that much lately. In the times I do be at home, like I play like League. So I've been playing League not because of what you guys think. I did play a couple of ranked games on my Smurf account, which has done a lot better for me, honestly. But they released TFT mode, which is their version of auto chest, and if you don't know what auto chest is, you can look it up because it's kind of hard to explain.
It's a very recent thing that just came out the like past couple months.
So from what we just learned, from what Justin was telling me, it started out as a mod on Warcraft 3.
I think that's what it was. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure on that. That's what I remember reading this morning, though. So I was like, wait, what? It's like, that's still happening?
And then Dota 2 made an actual game mode out of it, and then League of Legends, a lot of the developers saying they're playing on Dota 2 and they wanted to make their own version of it. So I've been playing it, and it's actually really fun. This might be the next big thing and like that genre.
It's bonkers.
Yeah, and it's taking like Twitch by storm, YouTube by storm. I see everybody playing it, and I'm interested in seeing what comes out of it. I hope they don't release a rank mode for his game. I hope they will. They will. Oh my god, that's gonna kill the game. That's gonna kill the fun for me. Man, that's why it's so fun. Because I'm
doing it to yourself. Just play customs, man. Yeah. Just play with normies.
But the real game I've been playing is Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
I saw that.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I passed chapter. I didn't realize I was on chapter 3 when I stopped playing. So I already put like 25 to 28 hours.
Yeah,
into
you didn't
the game.
Start over, right?
No, I didn't start over.
Okay.
Yeah, so I already put like 25. Call. Yeah, because I just remembered the story and then I just kept going. So I unlocked the ability to actually research the game, and I actually like looked at instead of just like trying to go through it and play it, like I actually was like, I'm gonna learn this game. Yeah, and I know you're probably thinking like, Montrell, you put 28 hours into the game, you didn't learn it. I've been playing the game.
I told you the same thing when I was going through this game a couple months ago. Was like, dude, the same thing. Is like, I unlocked. I know. You just continue. I know what you're about to say. Like,
yeah, like it was sporadic. So even though it was sporadic, I was forgetting certain things, but I wanted to learn every aspect of the game so that I can use it to this full potential. Mm-hmm. So I learned about the trees. Or the skill charts or the affinity charts, with your different blades and your characters. And on your characters, you unlock this ability called cancel, or you cancel your driver abilities. Right, so if you don't know beforehand, before you get to this point, you can cancel your drive. You can cancel your auto attacks into your drives. But you can't cancel your drives. Your animations have to play out, and then you can do everything else. The game feels kind of slow when you do it like that. But when you unlock this ability, the game picks up super fast. Not only can you do it, but your enemies start to do it. And not only if your enemies do it, your teammates start to doing it. So everything is just going super fast, and you can unlock combos really fast. You can unlock chain attacks super fast.
Well, the other thing is by the time you get this, you have abilities that let your main arts are auto charged at the start of combat.
Exactly.
So you don't have to wait for auto attacks to fill them up.
Exactly.
So dude, you can just unleash an entire combo on an enemy right out of the gate.
Exactly.
It's very powerful.
So that game, so when I unlocked that ability, the game drastically changed for me. Like, this game easily became from like a 7 for me to like a 9.
What chapter are you on now?
I'm on chapter 5.
That's where I did it too. Yeah. And I was like, that's where the game got fun, like really fun.
Because in chapter 4, because I started on chapter 3 and I started back playing. Chapter 4, I unlocked most of the affinity charts. Mm-hmm. And then chapter 5, I'm just going through the story. But chapter 4 was like a really interesting chapter as far as lore wise, and gameplay wise, and things of that nature. I do see why you say Rex is a good MC. He does carry his own weight. My personal favorite, though, as far as character development, is Nia. Like, I think her character.
I love her. She's my favorite character in the game.
Yeah, she's mine too. She has she has a really good character development.
I think she gets done dirty later, but you'll get there.
Mithra, I just unlocked her, so I thought that was a pretty cool character.
It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah,
it is.
I don't know how I feel about her yet. She's kind of I don't want to say a bitch, but like.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how she comes off. She doesn't like.
But she starts to.
She doesn't
up.
emote very much. Yeah. She's very like monotone. Yeah. Kind of.
And the game the story really opens up. I'm really loving the world. I love that. I forgot the Prince of
Moradane?
Yeah, Prince of Moradane. What's his name? That guy.
Oh, I can't remember his name. Yeah. It's Morag's brother. Though, right? Yeah.
I thought he was annoying, but then his character comes to par to what he's actually trying to do, and I think.
No. You're talking about the party member.
I think he becomes in your party. I don't know yet.
Actually, no, you're not at that point. Never mind.
The lightning guy who does Bringer Chaos.
Zeke.
Every time Zeke. There you go.
Zeke,
I think he's pretty cool.
Spoilers. He's the final party member. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I kind of spoiled it for myself.
Dude, if you were looking at the game, there's no way you can avoid it. It's impossible. Like, people literally talk about him constantly. Like, he's like everybody's favorite character. So.
I unlocked the second version of Poppy. Now, one thing I want to complain about Poppy real quick. I don't like how you have to play that stupid Tiger game to unlock.
Nobody does. It's awful. I hate it.
I mean, I learned how to farm the ether crystals, but it's just I don't like playing that. It's like
what I'm going to suggest to you is this. So obviously you have to use Poppy for a large chunk of the early game. Yeah, because she's your only tank. And you only have 3 party members anyways for the first 3 chapters. So you have to use her pretty much. But you have Morag now.
Yeah, I do.
Just use her.
Okay, she's a better tank. Everyone on Reddit said that
it's Tora not necessarily she's a better tank. She's way easier to deal with because she's a normal character. Like Poppy probably can be a better tank. It just takes investment, and that means you have to play Tiger, and screw that. Like
a lot of people say that. Once you put time into Poppy, she's one of the best tanks in the game.
She can probably be the best unit, period, in the game, like Blade in general, because she can do anything. Yeah. Like, she can be an attacker, she can be a supporter, she can be a tank, and you can fully invest into her any way you want. Yeah. It's not contingent on items, because you can make any item you want basically for her and put it in her. So like put it in her the slots she has. So she's a cool character design from a progression standpoint. I like her. It's just the fact that they tied progression to Tiger really sucks.
Yes.
So the thing I read and I kind of figured out myself is in New Game Plus, you can buy her ether crystals to upgrade her in using bonus experience, which you get from quests.
Okay.
And obviously you get a lot throughout the game, so you can save that bonus experience. Instead of using it to level, you can buy ether crystals for her with that.
Okay.
And when you do a New Game Plus, you start at the level you ended the campaign at.
Okay.
And you can de-level yourself at an inn, and you'll get bonus experience for every level that you go down.
Okay.
So it makes it really easy to progress her in New Game Plus. So that's kind of my thought process. If I ever play Xenoblade Chronicles 2 again, I will do that.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a New Game Plus. I'm gonna use her, and I'm gonna use the bonus experience to kind of make her as good as she can be.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So.
Because I like how they layer mechanics into the game, and they make you learn the game. It's just that, unfortunately,
it takes a long time.
I was reading the Reddit threads and things of that nature just on the game, because I was like, man, I really love this game, but it was a lot of people who gave up on the game 20 hours in. And
I totally understand it.
And that's what I'm saying. That's totally understandable.
I get it.
And I think that's a real disservice to the game and to themselves. But it's like, how can you make that without? How can you make the way they pace the game? How can they do it without rushing it? You know what I'm saying?
I think they waited too long. I think the problem is dude. I was so frustrated when I found out what that ability did, canceling driver arts. I didn't know what it meant when I was reading it in the menu, so I kept avoiding that ability.
Me too.
When I was leveling, and dude, I was like way past the point where I could have gotten it, and when I finally did it and like started reading about it, I was like, oh, that's what this does? What the hell? So it's like, it was like, it's one line of text telling you what it does. It's kind of vague. It's hard to understand. And if you don't like have a full grasp of the game's mechanics yet, you might not know what it is. So you avoid it. And then it's like you play half the game without this, basically.
But I do that with a lot of stuff, like even shackling or toppling,
which I never use those mechanics in this game,
but now I know how to use them perfectly. And I know how to topple almost any
but I never used it. I didn't need to use it. Like that was what I was talking about with the overcomplicated nature of the game. You get so many things that you can do later in the game that dude it's a good way to do damage. You can actually do the most damage in the game by using those mechanics, but you don't have to. It's like not necessary really. So I didn't use it much, and
I just think they could have done a better job at explaining stuff, because like shackle resist and things like resistances and all this stuff like that.
There's so many little mechanics like taunt resist and stuff,
exactly,
which is stuff I figured out myself, and stuff you kind of need to figure out. Some of the boss fights are difficult and require you, like at the end of chapter 4, dude, that fight was really difficult.
That was rough for me.
And I had to put on taunt resist on all my characters because I kept getting taunted and I couldn't kill the damaged boss. Like it was really frustrating. So that part of the game I enjoy, but the game doesn't explain those things very well to you. And I think the other problem is that I don't think they should have put the canceling driver arts in the skill tree. I think that was a mistake. I think it's this thing you should have just auto-unlocked at chapter 3 or whatever, and it would have just been part of the game's mechanics, because that's the issue, is that players are going to hit that at different points, right? And if you don't know how valuable that is, because it's the most valuable skill on the tree, period. Nothing else you can get with your skill points is as valuable as that. So if you don't know that, though, and you don't think of it that way, you actually don't think it's that valuable, so you avoid it. And it's like you might get it in like chapter 6, and it's like you're over halfway through the game at that point. You know?
Exactly.
It's like, so I think from a design standpoint, I think they should have just taken it out of the tree.
They should have just
made it another
like,
mechanic.
Like chapter 2 or something like that.
Maybe not that early, but early chapter 3 or something like that. I don't know. So I think that's kind of the issue, is they wait, because it's up to the player to get it. So you don't know how long it's going to be before they figure that out, and the game is really slow before you unlock that. It is. It's like you have to. You just kind of stand there and hit things with auto attacks, and it's like,
and that was a lot of people's complaints, and then people were like, man, just keep going, because they didn't want to spoil it for that person.
That's what I told you. I told you the same thing.
But I mean, I agree with you. One thing that I also don't like, I guess they should have explained to you more how valuable blades were, even the ones that you're not going to use, because you unlock the mercenary company.
Yep.
And that's very valuable for different types of blades you have.
Yep.
The weapons, not only the weapons, but the skills. Another thing with the skills is I had to learn is you have to do certain conditions, like Poppy has to eat, if you want to get super strength level 2 or level 3, she has to eat certain foods and things of that nature, and they didn't explain that at all, in my opinion.
Dude, I got to the end of the game and I had certain characters that I still hadn't figured out what their favorite food was, because it's like I'm just trying different foods, trying to figure it out. It's like I don't want to go to like a guide and just look. It's like that's kind of lame, dude. So I'm trying to figure it out, but they don't give you any hints really. Like certain characters, it's obvious. Like Tora says, like the first time you meet him, like, oh, I really love this dish. This is one of my favorite things to eat. Yeah. So it's like, okay, you give him that thing, and it is one of his favorite things to eat. But some of the other characters, though, it's completely not obvious at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Like some of the blades, it's like, what the fuck? Like, I don't have no idea what this character likes.
Or you gotta defeat 6 or 7 enemies or something like that of that nature. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, that's cool and all, but the game really doesn't explain that to you unless you go into the skill tree and you actually look and read and like, okay, this is how I get high jump level 2 or high jump level 3. And it's like, okay, I got to do these things. And I think they should explain that. Another thing I didn't like is how you have to buy material to explain the game to you. Yeah. So from the information guy.
Oh yeah, the informants.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I thought that was a really poor mechanic. That was weird to me.
I didn't find it useful, any of the information they gave me.
Because it's only one sentence.
It's literally a sentence. Sometimes it's just this vague line like, "Hey, there's a thing over there, like over in this place." Like, it's like, okay, great. And sometimes it's like a mechanical. It's like mechanical information about when you cancel a driver art, this happens, or things like that. So I think the thing with progression on blades, I will say, I think what they should have done is early in the game, it's really cool, like because you're naturally kind of growing your blades as you're going through these areas. Yeah. But later in the game, as you go through some of the later areas, and you get new blades that are low level, they don't have anything unlocked, so you have to go back to like Gormott and the early areas in the game to unlock all their shit, and it's like that's not really fun because you're not getting any experience for it. You're getting items that are useless to you. It's literally just for that one blade. So to me, it's like that what they should have done is they should have given you an alternate progression path, some way to unlock those nodes without having to go back, some kind of currency or something you could use, like tokens or something.
I agree.
Something like that.
This game suffers from, I know me and you both like complicated games, but this game kind of suffers from overcomplication.
It's complicated to be complicated. It's not complicated because it's good complicated. It's not, that's what I came away from the game with,
it's not like the complication or interferes with the battle system or anything like that. It kind of makes it better, but it's like they could have streamlined it more. Like, I hope for the next game they kind of learned and like, hey, we need to streamline it a little bit more. Because that was my main complaint with Xenoblade Chronicles X. It wasn't the complication, it was just how they had the map made and the enemy placements. With this game, they kind of did it better as far as enemy level placements.
There's still some of it, but
there's still some of
I don't mind that stuff though, because that makes the world feel dangerous. I like that. I don't mind that. Like you're talking about, like the high level enemies being in low level areas. Kind of thing.
Like it wasn't as bad. It's not bad in this game at all, but in Chronicles,
areas, dude, there's some flying bosses, that are the fucking worst. You'll just be walking through an area, and all of a sudden, a level 60 enemy's aggroed on you, and you're like, he just one shots you, and you're like, what the fuck? And then you walk back through the area, he aggroes you again. It's like he's got this giant aggro radius because he's like flying through the air. It's like, how do you fucking? It's like, God. So there is still some issues, but it is better than X. But the thing is, I don't remember having a problem with X because the level cap on X was 60. It was small. It wasn't that high.
I just remember sometimes I had to go way out my way to avoid people.
You're not wrong. There are plenty, dude. The zones in X are just literally full of enemies. Like they're everywhere. Like you can't walk 5 feet without running into an enemy in that game.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I think it did a good job of your movement speed was really fast in X.
Yeah, it was.
Like it was kind of crazy how quickly you could run.
Yeah.
So you could kind of outrun things for the most part in that game. And I also think it kind of felt like an MMO in terms of its aggro radiuses for me. It reminded me of World of Warcraft, like dodging through dungeons and like trying to avoid mob packs and stuff like that. So I was actually pretty good at like avoiding some of the higher level enemies. Okay. So I found it fine personally. I didn't have a big problem.
I'm going to go back and actually play that game probably when I get done with this.
I need it on Switch, man. I don't have a Wii U anymore.
It's impossible to put it onto the Switch.
It's not impossible.
That's what they said. That's what the creator said.
They're lying.
He said
they're lying. They don't want to do it because they're just making an excuse because they don't think it's going to sell that well. Yeah. But I'm telling you guys, put it on Switch.
So I'm telling you guys, like if you guys been on the fence about Chronicles 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, if you guys switch, I highly recommend it, especially for like JRPGs and MMOs. It has like that MMO battle system, but it also has like a more intricate version of it. It does take a while to unlock, but I don't want to spoil it for you. But if you use your infinity chart for the characters, instantly try to go for read their charts and instantly try to go for driver canceling. 100% because that will drastically change the game, make it a lot faster.
Beeline for that. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Just beeline for it.
Yeah, exactly. Please just go straight for it.
Beeline for that, and then beeline for the ones that fill your arcs at the beginning of battle. Instantly, like get those 3, and then the rest of it's fine. It's just stat upgrades mostly.
Yeah, because that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to be like all intricate, like stat upgrades.
Too. I was doing the same thing, dude. It's not that useful though.
Yeah.
But so I agree. The game is good.
Yeah, the game's good.
All right. Okay. Is that all you've been playing?
Yep.
Okay. Let's move on to news. So let's start with EA. Our best friends over EA. So we got 2 articles about EA. It's been a fun couple weeks. The first one is, man, this was some cringe, dude. This video was awful. So EA and Epic were, they were at, what was it? They were in the UK, right? The UK. They were at a panel, not a panel, but like
I think it was a parliament, I want to say.
Yeah, it was a parliamentary kind of council meeting or something like that. In the UK, and they were being asked questions about loot boxes. And man, dude, this video was awkward. So they were explaining kind of what like why they think loot boxes are ethical, and they coined this term they started calling them surprise mechanics, and that they are quite ethical. And man, this woman, dude, the woman speaking,
she's like the representative.
She seemed like she hated everything she was saying. Like she knew it was like it looked like she just felt gross like the whole time. She's like monotone. She's got this giant frown on her face. Like she just looks like she wants to leave. Like
if you watch the video, the guy when she said surprise mechanics, he's like, what? He literally laughs during the committee. Yeah. So
they were grilling her too, dude. Like after she said that, they were like, what about this makes it ethical or whatever? So like it was.
So what's interesting which is a very interesting argument, and we actually mentioned this in like episode 2 or 3, I believe. Yeah. How loot boxes, kids were kind of catered towards loot boxes at a young age because we had magic cards, we had Pokemon card booster packs and everything like that. So it was inevitable that this come to games, and they compared that to loot boxes in this committee. They call them LOL toys and
they were talking about trading card games like Magic the Gathering. I think they were mentioning other things like those little quarter machines you can pop a little capsule out of those, and then that thing you mentioned, the whatever LOL.
LOL surprise and Kinder eggs. Where you open it. I don't know if you guys were younger. It was another toy that's similar. I'm trying to think of it. where you open it up and you get this random toy, and they always say collect them all. You know, it's just a random toy. They have no value to it. You know.
Yeah.
So, but the thing about this though is that's a physical item you're getting compared to these, which are digital and controlled.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's multiple layers with this discussion because, like, for one, yes, you're getting a physical item from those, so you're getting something tangible that you can keep.
Yes.
Right. That you own now. It is yours.
Yep.
Right. With the trading card games and the little whatever, the capsule things and whatever other collectible things. Right. The second thing is there's no barrier to entry. You don't have to pay $60 for the privilege to then buy the trading cards.
I forgot
like
about that,
yeah, so it's like that's the other part of it is like you have to pay $60 for most of EA's games in order to even buy the microtransactions.
Yeah.
So that's another layer. And I think the third thing is them using this defense of trading card games. They're doing a disservice to trading card games because they're gonna end up dragging those down with them.
Oh yeah.
Because some people don't believe that stuff like. This whole argument frustrates me that a lot of people look at the trading card game scenarios with booster packs and all that stuff. They look at it as not gambling. It's 100% gambling. I don't understand why you think that isn't gambling. Like, so I can't. Like, dude, literally, gambling doesn't just happen in a fucking casino. So, like, like people seem to think that's what gambling is that it's literally just casinos. Gambling is any kind of wager you're making that you're gonna get something for your money, something you want for your money.
Yep.
And that's what trading card games are. I went through this myself, dude. I was obsessed with a few trading card games, and it's the same dopamine rush you get in freaking mobile games that you get with loot boxes, where you're like, shit, I want this super rare card. You know, it's 100%. Like you're really hoping I get like something really good out of this booster pack. It's like it's the same shit, dude.
I actually believe this phrase where history repeats itself.
Yes.
So I remember when Pokemon cards were super popular.
Yep.
20 years ago. My grandmother did not want me to buy this, and it was on the news, and people were like kind of trying to protest it. Mm-hmm. And I was young, so I'm like, I still like the Pokemon cards. I'm like, of course it's not gambling. It's not gambling. What are you talking about, mom? You know, grandma? But they were on the news saying like, hey, I think it was like Moms Against something, and they're like, this is gambling. Like, our kids are putting $10 for these booster packs, and they're hoping they're getting something out of a slot machine. Yeah. It's not a physical slot machine, but it's a slot machine.
It's the same concept, though.
Yes, and they called it gambling at that time, and I was too young to understand. Yeah. But now that loot boxes are here, and it's like ruining shit, and we're seeing people go through these same addictive tendencies, it is gambling in a sense.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think I keep seeing a lot of people like trying to separate the two, and it's just they're not separate in my mind. Like, they're the same thing. I think Magic the Gathering is totally gambling. It's ridiculous. Dude, people buy boxes of those, and they'll man, I got such a good haul. I got like 2 super rares and then like 10 of the like these cards. It was like
with trading cards, how can you make it where it's not gambling? I think the system is so built upon gambling.
Oh, that industry. Dude, if they couldn't do what they do, they'd fall apart.
Yeah.
That's how they make their money, is the fact that people are trying to get the cards, like the right cards, the specific cards they need, right? Like, eventually people will buy singles, but when a new set comes out, people buy a box or 2 boxes, you know, just to kind of get a bunch of the cards from the set, you know, and then you'll go buy the singles of the ones you really need after the fact. But at the end of the day, it's still... You're still putting money down for a chance to get something that you want. You know, that's it. Yeah, sure. There's not a bookie. There's not someone, you know, shuffling cards for you at a card table, you know, dealing them out to you. But it's, you know, it's the same concept. So
yeah. So they were talking about also a FIFA Ultimate Team, which unironically uses like cards.
They use the booster pack thing.
They use the booster pack thing, and they don't consider those loot boxes at all. So I just thought this whole article was interesting. If you guys want to look it up,
they're arguing on technicalities. Yes, the FIFA Ultimate Team and Madden Ultimate Team card packs aren't presented to you in a box.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, it's a loot pack then. Let's call it what it is. I mean, it's the same thing as a loot box. I don't understand how it's any different.
Yeah.
You know? Yes, the pool of items you can get in it is probably way larger than a typical loot box, but that doesn't really matter. It's the same idea.
So I was on the road when I went over to LA, and I was watching in the hotel room, Amazing World of Gumball, and they had an episode in there, which I recommend anybody watch that show. That show is way ahead of its time. But anyway, they were talking about somebody was like he wanted to do chores, or he gave Gumball and his brother chores to do for him because he was playing a game. Anyway, long story short, he became addicted to buying online currency for a video game. And he bought like tens of thousands of dollars worth of online currency for this game that was like useless. And like the whole thing was just like, really funny. I'm like wow, these people are actually taking a stand against like microtransactions in games and stuff like that. So man, I thought that was pretty funny.
I mean, it's mainstream to hate on microtransactions at this point. I mean, dude, there's a bill in the freaking government, in the U.S. government right now for it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. This whole discussion frustrates me. I don't know why we can't agree that this is gambling. It's ridiculous. Like, whatever. I don't know. Okay, the second article we have about EA is a lot more interesting.
Yes.
It's a interview with GameDaily.biz with the CEO of EA, Andrew Wilson. He hasn't done a public interview in, I think it's been over 2 years. He's been very kind of reclusive in that front. He doesn't do these very often. So that's why this was a very interesting read. I'm not going to go through specific points necessarily here. I would really recommend you guys read it, though. Yep. I want to mention one thing, though. They still seem committed to
games as
Anthem and games as a service, but specifically Anthem, that he mentions in here that they want to continue to support it and bring players back and make it a great game. So it's an interesting read, though. He's an interesting guy because I was telling you before the show, he's a former developer.
Yeah.
Like, he is not your typical suit. So
which leads me back to our previous theory, right? One of our conspiracy theories, where we say EA takes things to the extreme because they're trying to save the game industry but making themselves look bad.
Yeah.
So what if
they're trying to I love it.
What if he's like, I'm CEO.
I want to do all the worst shit imaginable so that people hate it.
Exactly.
Hate us, hate it, so that the rest of the industry doesn't do it.
Yes. What if he's that savior?
That would he's the hero. He's the hero we need, not the one we deserve. That's amazing. Oh shit, dude.
We know that's not true, but
no, I know.
It's an interesting theory, though.
It would be fun if that was true. I mean, I would be interested to talk to this guy. He seemed like he doesn't like. I know we all paint EA as a bad guy, and we've had this discussion before that they have to do things a certain way. I mean, they have shareholders, right? They have people that they have to make money. They have to figure out ways to make money. So as much as some of the shit they do is really bad, and they've ruined plenty of games and studios and whatnot over the years, it's like, I mean, this guy wasn't really a part of most of that, though.
I think he came at the later end of that.
I think he's been in EA for a while, but the point is he wasn't CEO when a lot of that shit happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was when Battlefront 2 launched, but he hasn't been CEO for that long, so...
Yeah.
But still, it's like, even with things like Battlefront 2, they quickly went back on that after the fan backlash was so crazy. Yeah. So it's like they do listen. It's just they're like misguided, It's weird.
It's a weird thing. I just don't like how which I think is another conversation we should have one day about subscriptions.
Yeah.
They are trying to, in the industry, it looks like this trend is that Ubisoft's doing it, Microsoft's doing it, everyone's doing it. And it's kind of scary that I think at a certain point they're trying to get it to where we can't even buy games and own it ourselves. We have to sign up for a subscription just to play their games.
I think I think he talks about that in
here. He does,
actually. He specifically says that singular sales of video games are never going to go away. They're not going to be replaced by subscription services. So I don't think that's their intent necessarily, but maybe others have that intent. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, if that is the future we have, I think they're restricting like the ceiling of how much money they can make.
They are,
because there really aren't that many people that play. This isn't like Netflix, dude. It's not. This isn't something where you're gonna have 1 billion people subscribe to you. It's like,
that's the thing. I think they're trying to move towards. I think they're trying to test that water. I think Google Stadia is going to be that test water.
Yeah, it's going to be much smaller than I think they hope.
Yeah.
So,
because the only people that's really doing it right, in my opinion, is Xbox.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, PlayStation now, they have their old catalog on that. And that's a really good that's a really good deal.
But you can only download certain games.
Yeah.
Most of them you have to stream.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Xbox Game Pass, you can download any game on the Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the difference. So it's a good read. I recommend it for sure. It's I mean, if you don't like EA, like, this is the kind of stuff you should be reading so you can learn more about them. Like, learn more about their leadership and kind of the way they think, right? So all right, let's move on. This next one is
ridiculous.
This one's multi-layered. So there was a controversy. It's been a couple weeks, but basically, people were getting up in arms because Tifa's breasts in Final Fantasy VII Remake are smaller than they appeared in the original game. So Tetsuya Nomura did an interview and talked about this, and he mentioned that they specifically, Square Enix apparently has a quote ethics department that said they want to tone it down from that perspective.
Yeah,
like not make her breasts super huge and going all over the place, right, when she's fighting.
Totally understandable.
What they did was they basically put her in a sports bra, and that, like, constricts her and makes it so that they're not moving around when she's fighting. And also, she's a super fit person, so he was like, yeah, she's got abs and everything, so she needs to be able to move quickly and agilely. Like, it makes sense for her character, the way she fights, that her breasts wouldn't be going all over the place while she's fighting things. Like, so this was a weird situation, though, because I think games media kind of ran away with this story to kind of paint this picture that, like, tons of gamers were upset that her breasts are small.
Yeah, you're right. I can see that.
I don't really think that's what happened here. It was, like, kind of mistranslated at first. Like, it wasn't... That was my understanding of it, is, like, some people were definitely upset about the breast thing, but I just don't think that was the whole
I saw
scope
the other side of it, right?
Yeah,
I saw the side of people who were actually physically upset that her breasts were smaller. They're like,
those people are degenerates. Get over it, dude. Like,
bro, like, it was a lot of people co-signing. Like, oh my god, they're changing our games.
She was a polygon. She was a polygonal model.
You had the little CGI movies, right?
Fucking hell, man.
Like, even so, this also started with Mortal Kombat 11.
Well, yeah, Tomb Raider had the same thing.
Oh yeah,
a few years ago.
Tomb Raider had the same thing,
because they went even further than this. Like,
oh my god,
new Lara Croft, like, she's got like nothing in her chest, dude. Like, she's like the complete polar opposite of PS1.
She's got like a nice little C cup. Well, anyway,
I saw it, dude. Actually, hold on. Sidebar. I did see a bunch of Twitter posts about people posting, like, charts of A, B, C, D, E, F cups. I was like, what are we doing? Yeah. Are we really arguing about this on the internet? Like, what?
It's the internet.
What is wrong with us? Who cares?
I'll be honest, right? I just think sometimes we get in these spaces, right? And it's like guy talk. Guys talk about this shit.
For sure.
And women talk about the same type of shit as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's nothing that's wrong with that kind of conversation, as long as it's harmless fun.
Look, Tifa's hot, okay? I'm just gonna put it out there, bro. Like, she's good looking, man, but it's like,
but I'm not gonna get upset.
Exactly.
There are people physically upset that her breasts were smaller.
It's their character. They'll do whatever they want. If they want to turn her into a man, they'll do it.
Tifa.
Yeah. I'm Tifa Cloud. I mean, it's their game. They can do whatever they want with it. Yes, if they turned her into a man, that would probably be upsetting.
That would be really upsetting. But they can do that.
But they're not doing that. They're making her breasts realistic.
What's wrong?
Let's grow up. Let's grow up, everybody. Okay.
I think both sides, like you said, both sides were very extreme.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, it was, people were taking the piss out of everything with everything with this. It's just, I don't know. This shit's annoying. These kind of things annoy me to a ridiculous degree, where people start arguing about the physics of breasts, and I'm like, guys, and like the size is like the legitimate. You don't know what the size of a B cup actually is. It's like, I think when we get to that point, that we need to shut up and just move on, because we're getting way too technical about something that is just so irrelevant.
It's kind of like the conversation with that Pokemon character Nessa.
Yeah,
that whole thing with her, her being she's a darker skinned character, and a Japanese fan artist made a fair skinned version or white version of her, and like I said, I kind of gave that a pass, or a lot of people gave it a pass because it was a Japanese person. They don't understand the culture of why this was so important to have a dark skinned character in this space. Yeah. But both sides went extremely
way too far with it,
and there seemed like there's no middle ground in sight.
Dude, a similar example with the people taking this too far. People were arguing that, like, oh, the lighting was making her skin look lighter, and then other people were coming in and like, you don't understand how lighting works. Like, I'm like, guys, what are we talking about? Like, what the? It's somebody drew a drawing. Like, what? Like, we're talking about fucking lighting. Like, you think they were thinking about that when they drew this? Like, oh, the lighting, and this is gonna make her skin look this. Like, it's like fucking like okay. Enough. Like, it's just such a trivial thing. And then somebody drew her light skin. Let's move on.
Yeah, it was trolling on both sides. But then
people got mean about it. Like, it was.
People started drawing her white on purpose just to upset everyone else.
People.
Yeah,
it got really ugly.
Yeah.
So this Tifa thing was a lot less.
It was a lot less ugly than that.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Man. But yeah, like, anyways, the point being with all this shit, this stuff
these are
is
fictional characters.
So relevant to your everyday life. Maybe get off Twitter for a day.
Yes.
And let it blow over, because this is not something worth getting in an argument about. It's really not. Who cares? Yeah. You're going to play this game, and are you really going to be sitting there like playing as Tifa, and you're going to be like, man, I wish her breasts were bigger. This is ruining this game for me. Like,
I'm pretty sure there's plenty of porn guys out there with Tifa.
Jesus.
All right, if you want to do
just go watch some hentai, bro. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm sure you are right now. I'm sure you are. Anyways, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's move on. Okay, so Randy Pitchford, we've talked about him a lot. However, something kind of big happened in one of his cases. So some documents were filed in one of the suits by Wade Callender, which is the former Gearbox corporate counsel, which is Randy's. This guy was Randy's childhood best friend, and they had been in business together for a while. Okay. And then they had a falling out, and then this got ugly, and then Randy sued him for saying some shit, and then he countersued. This is in the suit. They filed some documents that kind of showed a couple contracts actually, between Gearbox and 2K. Yeah. Basically proving that he diverted money into his personal company.
Yikes.
Away from Gearbox. The thing about this is, though, this is a very technical situation that the wording of the contracts is actually very important into whether this is actually legal or not. Yeah. So that's the part of it that's up in the air, I think, still, is that, yes, it looks kind of bad, but this actually happens a lot. Okay. It just depends on how the contract was worded. If it's worded properly, then it's not that big of a deal. It's kind of just like almost like a bonus for him. Yeah. But it seems like that's kind of questionable, though. It seems like they may have worded it poorly, and he could be in trouble for this potentially. So either way, this was money, because I think the thing is that Randy negotiated to get like $12 million for himself. That's what is speculated based off the documents. But if this was intended for Gearbox as a company, as a bonus for the company, then that is him taking money he shouldn't be taking, right? So it's an ugly situation. Obviously, I have a feeling this is going to be settled before it actually gets to court. I think at this point, Randy's just going to be like, dude, like I'm sure Gearbox wants the side of the news. I'm sure 2K wants the side of the news, because this is just bringing. Yeah, I was just going to say, like, Borderlands 3 down. Yeah, and, like, they have a huge game coming out in September, and this guy just can't stay out the news. Like, he even went dark, and like this came out of nowhere. So, yeah, because he's not talking about anything. So. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm expecting a settlement probably within the next month or two. Like, I
hope so.
I would think this will get cleared up, because I don't think they want this to linger past the game coming out.
It's not necessarily him. I just want his team. The team.
Yeah,
Gearbox.
Exactly. Like, the focus should be on the game, dude, and the people who made the game. And the focus hasn't been on that since it's been announced. It's been on Randy Pitchford. Yep. And I'm tired of that. I don't want to talk about
Todd
this.
Howard.
Yeah, dude, I don't want to talk about this guy anymore. I'm tired of it. Like, it's like he's not a good person, and he pretends that he's some righteous warrior for like all the time, and he's just a frustrating individual. Yeah. And I really just want him to get out of the way. Yeah. Like,
I agree with you.
Let his people do their thing and be the focus, you know? Okay. let's move on. This one, it has begun, Montrell.
Oh, no.
The slow degradation of Fire Emblem Three Houses on its way to release. So, it hasn't been confirmed by Nintendo, but during one of their Treehouse streams, there was a photo of a download card for the game in Japanese that was translated.
Yeah.
That basically confirmed the existence of DLC for the game and amiibo support, which that's not surprising.
Yeah.
It's really the DLC I want to focus on here. They haven't said anything about DLC in the lead up to this game, and I know they're doing this on purpose so that they don't. They're not even gonna. I don't even think they're gonna talk about it personally until the game's out. Like, I really don't. I think
Nintendo's is one of those companies that don't really respond well. They don't respond to like stuff that happens on the news. They just keep going with their original plan.
100%. And I mean, I've been critical of Fire Emblem DLC recently in the past. The last 3 games that have come out have all had DLC, and all the DLC has been bad.
Yep.
And a lot of it has broken, most of it breaks the game. It gives you characters that are overpowered. It gives you items that are overpowered. It gives you endless amounts of money and experience, things that you would otherwise not be able to obtain in the game.
Yep.
And it breaks the balance of the game. So I assume it's going to be a similar thing with this game. So
does the game, like, in Awakening, I remember I had to go back and grind some places.
Yeah. There's an endless... There's a grinding map in the DLCs for experience. There's also... Awakening was out of control because they gave you a shitload of characters in the DLC, and they were, like, really powerful characters, too. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, like, just a bunch of slouches. And then... Fates was kind of the opposite. They actually, I think there was only one DLC character, and she was really good, but she wasn't really that much better than some of your other party members.
Okay.
And most of the rest of it was really just items and grinding maps for money and experience.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, it's a mixed bag. Obviously, I don't have to buy it. I'm not going to buy it, but it's just these...
Say, like, is it one of those things where it needs to be had so you can experience, so you can grind and stuff like that, or get the most bang out your buck?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't change the game. Like, that is the one thing I'll give them credit for. You don't need the DLC.
Okay.
The game plays fine without it. The games have played fine without it. So that's kind of the good part, and I expect that to continue. It's just the fact that they continue to do this with Fire Emblem. I've said this before. I said this before when we were talking about Fire Emblem Heroes. Like, they don't need to do this with the mainline games anymore. That game makes so much money. They don't need to, like, milk
they
the
still
main
do
games.
it. I don't even think it's Nintendo at this point. I just think it's
no, I think it's Intelligent Systems.
Yeah, I just think it's IS at this point.
Totally,
man.
dude. Like, they've hit a gold mine with this series that is I think.
When I played Blazing Sword, I wasn't expecting all this. Way back in my GBA.
Way back in the day.
Yeah.
Nah, man.
I remember Fire Emblem used to be such a niche.
What a simple time.
Yeah,
I know, it's so mainstream now, dude. Even when Path of Radiance came out.
Yeah.
And Radiant Dawn, it was still niche. Awakening was really the one that kind of put it back on the map.
Yeah.
It was like a mainstream franchise. And then Fates was huge.
Yeah.
And then Heroes came out, and that was, I mean, it's the biggest thing they've ever made in terms of how much money it makes.
Yep.
And then there was Shadows of Valencia, the remake from a couple years ago of the second game of Fire Emblem Gaiden, which that one, I don't think that one did super well, but it did well enough.
Yeah, I didn't hear too much about it, though.
I played it and beat it. It's a very good game.
Okay.
But it's very different, though, from other Fire Emblems. But I don't know. It's just, it's like, part of me was hoping that this game would be free from all this shit. It's just, I knew deep down, though, that wasn't going to be the case. But it's, I don't know. We'll see. I'm still excited for the game.
I was scared when I heard the which they haven't really said anything, which they still haven't said, and I think it'll be a little bit too late to introduce that. Mm-hmm. I heard 3 houses. I instantly thought 3 games. Instantaneous.
Well, we talked about that. Yeah. No, that's what I was saying. That's what my worry was. And I think we're beyond the point where that's... Yeah. They would have announced that a long time ago if that was true. So I'm happy about that. It just makes you wonder how big the game is, though, because you can
it says it's 11 gigs or 12 gigs of stuff.
Which actually isn't that large. But
for
Nintendo's probably... The thing is, Nintendo was forced to compress probably because of the size of the Switch. The Switch only has like 26 gigs of memory in it.
Yeah.
Well, not memory, but space, hard drive space in it. At a base, like you can buy more, but Nintendo is going to make sure that any of their first-party games will fit on a base Switch without having to buy an SD card. So, I would expect any game that they ever come out with will always be 25 or lower. Yeah, you know. So that's why this being 12 is not a surprise. Like I'm sure they did a really good job of making sure the game is as small as it needs to be, you know, or as small as it can be. Yeah, I suppose. So that's good, but we'll see. I mean, the game's coming out in a few weeks, right? It's only...
Yeah, it comes out next month.
26th, right?
Yeah, it comes
26th of July.
It comes out...
That's like 4 weeks from now.
Yep, it comes out literally a month from today. A day from recording. Or a month from recording. Yeah.
That's true. Today's the 26th. Yep, so like 30 days.
Yep.
Oh man, oh god, time is flying, dude. We're like, I'm like sitting here like playing Fell Seal all like casually and everything, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be inundated with games soon. Like it's terrifying. All right, let's move on. The next story, another controversy. This one also surrounding Pokemon. This one's different though. This one maybe a little bit more legitimate of a gripe.
Yes, so, this one's actually legit. This has nothing to do with like race, women,
there's no
or anything
race.
like that.
I mean, this did get a little out of control. People were being kind of mean, but we'll get into that. So basically, it became public knowledge that the national dex in Pokemon Sword and Shield is not going to be in the game at launch. And what that means is that not all the Pokemon are going to be in the game. Yep. Like, all the Pokemon from the older games are not going to be in the game. Okay. And people got extremely upset about this, obviously, right? The whole point, Pokemon's whole thing has always been, like, gotta catch them all, right? Yeah. That's been the catchphrase for Pokemon since the beginning, you know? So we're at the point, though, where there's, like, 900 of these things, 950
It is ridiculous,
even. Yeah. And it is unrealistic for anybody to expect them to get all of these things in every single game going forward, because I think a lot of people, this is where it got ugly, right? Yep. People were arguing that it shouldn't take them that long to move models over from X and Y or Sun and Moon or whatever, yep, and move it over into this game, and it's like, I mean, it's not that simple, dude. Like, there might be new animations they have to make that for different mechanics that are in this game that aren't in previous games. Yep. It's not just battle animations they have to port over. They're going to have to make sure that these Pokemon can be used in anything that this game has, yep, right? Like, because there was a rumor of a camping feature, and you can, like, kind of play with your Pokemon and stuff like that. They would have to do all that from scratch, right, with these things. So it's not a simple process to do that for 950 fucking monsters. You know, so I think people were being a little mean. Were being mean-spirited at them, and there was this Twitter hashtag trending of Pokemon in 5 minutes or something like that. Yeah. Did you see all these?
Yeah, I saw
where
that.
People were trying to make Pokemon models in 5 minutes, like 3D models, and it was a hilarious string of tweets. Dude, these things were ugly as hell. It was just blobs. It was just blobs of Pokemon. It was so funny looking. But so that's kind of the point. I think people started, like, they had an unreasonable expectation that it's like, oh, this shouldn't take them that long. If they really wanted to put in the effort, they could do it. And I mean, you're not wrong. They could get every character.
It would take a lot of crunch.
It would take crunch. It would either take crunch or it would take away from other parts of the game.
Yes.
So this is a multi-layered situation, though, because expectations are unreasonable to expect them to get every monster in the game. However, Pokemon Company, Game Freak, did this to themselves. I have been saying this for years, that this model is unsustainable.
Yes.
And they've been doing it for over 20 years now, and we're at the point where they can't sustain it anymore.
I was going to say, I think it's time for a reboot of the franchise.
Either a reboot or some kind of change in the way they do the games, because, dude, adding 100 Pokemon every single game is it's out of control. Yeah. Like, you're at a point where you have so many of these things that, first of all, many of the designs probably start to blend together. Yep. It's becoming difficult to add more. And then at a certain point, too, like, dude, what happens when we're in Pokemon, like, you know, the 30 years from now, we have like 2,500 different Pokemon in the Pokemon franchise. It's
that's what I'm saying. They're going to have to reboot it.
You can't keep doing that forever, you know?
I mean, but these are the same people that said Pokemon don't need to change.
Yeah.
Like, You know, people were legitimately arguing with me saying
That's
like,
true. That's
saying
true.
that this franchise doesn't need to change. It's been doing this well for.
If you feel that way and you're mad about this, I mean, it's your fault then.
Yeah.
You know, like you wanted them to keep doing this, and this is the result.
Yeah, and I'm like, the franchise needs a reboot. Mm-hmm. The combat needs a serious reboot. Everything needs a reboot. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with looking at... Pokemon has been the same for 25 years, I believe.
Yeah.
25 years. Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a good run.
Yeah.
Hats off to them. Hats off to Game Freak. But now, they even changed the way Mario looks or how he operates and stuff like that. They changed a lot of stuff. Nintendo, Sega, everyone has changed the way they did stuff because they know this model... Mm-hmm. For current climate, like they changed the way Tomb Raider does and things of that nature. Why is Pokemon immune to that?
Yeah,
you know, so
it's not immune to it. I mean, and I think,
well, when you criticize this game, people come in droves to defend it. They're like, "Oh, what do you mean this is that?" And it's like, bro, like I just think I'm a fan as much as you. I just think this needs to change.
And I love Pokemon, and this game looks fun, and I'm gonna get it. But dude, there was a thread on Reddit. That somebody posted the basically somebody from the Japanese from Japan, like a fan from Japan, asked somebody to post on Reddit for them basically their feelings on this situation, and they're just as upset about it. Like they want the national dex in the game too, and they want all the Pokemon in the game as well. Like they're very upset about it, but they basically, to summarize, said that like national dex isn't really going to hurt sales. Like not being there isn't going to hurt sales of the game. The game's still going to sell, but it's indicative of Game Freak kind of having Pokemon take a back seat for them because they're working on other games that aren't Pokemon related.
Oh, okay.
And apparently they said that their second team is the one making Sword and Shield. It's not their primary dev team. Yeah, which is if that's true, that is a oof, you know, like kind of situation. Like, wow, Pokemon isn't your primary game. Pokemon.
That's crazy.
And if that's true, I mean, it kind of looks that way though when I really think about it. Like the game looks fun and it's going to be robust, but it's robust. It's like you said, it's not innovating. It's robust in the same ways it's always been robust.
Yeah, exactly.
They have a formula. It's probably easy for them to make these games. Like relatively speaking, it's not like. It's on the same. It's not like turning God of War into what the God of War from last year was compared to what it was before. You know, that is a complete reimagining of a game franchise.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Pokemon's not doing that with these games. So,
I mean, maybe their first team could be doing that, but I mean, I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to hear that. This
Japanese
is a second
fans it's second team.
Oh, the Japanese fans were
being upset there. I mean, they're the most diehard fans of Pokemon.
Yeah,
dude. Like they're. I mean, that's why the franchise is so huge. Like, dude, they're like, we love Pokemon here too, but it's massive over there.
Yeah,
it's one of the biggest franchises like in Japan. So I don't know. It's like it was kind of cool to see their opinion on it, and the fact that they felt so strongly about it, they wanted to kind of talk to us, you know, about it at the same time. But at the same time, I just think people need to be realistic. We got to be realistic about it. Yeah, it's like, what are our expectations? They put themselves, like, yes, we can be mad at Game Freak for putting themselves in this corner, but they're in this corner now, so we have to be realistic about what they're going to do with what they have.
I didn't know the other games had national Pokédexes.
Yeah, no, every game, as far as I know, every mainline game has had the ability to have every Pokemon. And so what the reason this is a big deal is that you're not going to be able to trade certain Pokemon into Sword and Shield now. Yeah. Like, you're not going to be able to... I know certain
people like you said you had your same team since like
Gen 1.
Gen 1, yeah.
And I still have them. And the thing is, like... Remember I've told you before that, and I played Diamond or I played Platinum, which is Gen 4.
Yeah.
I made a custom team from previous gens and that gen as well, but it was made up of a lot of Pokemon from prior generations though, and imagine now I can't do that in this game necessarily. You know, like what if you're somebody like me who like really enjoyed that and wanted to do that for this game, and you've been preparing a team, and all of a sudden 2 of the Pokemon on that team can't be transferred into this game.
Yeah,
like dude,
I understand.
That sucks.
I mean,
that's not cool.
It does suck, but it's like, I don't know. I've always just been a realist when it came to Pokemon.
I know.
To be honest with you,
I know, but when you say gotta catch them all, dude, and you can't catch them all, that's. You know, it's kind of not good. So I don't know. I get it. I get it on both angles. I get it from Game Freak's side, but I also get it from the fan side. It's an unfortunate situation, and I hope they can rectify it. I think they said they're planning on getting every Pokemon in the game post launch. Yeah. So I think eventually they will all be in there, and you will be able to trade them all. It's just that they didn't have time to do it before the game's release. Yeah. So
that's understandable. I mean, everyone's been waiting for a Pokemon game for the Switch. Yeah. So
yeah, and I think people also have to understand it's not like they're slapping shit together and throwing it in there. They need to make sure the shit's polished. Yeah. The Pokemon aren't bugged out and buggy.
They're trying brand new stuff with the camera angles and everything like that. The camera
angles, well, the Pokemon being out in the world too. Exactly. Because you have to animate them moving around and stuff too. It's like being out in the open world. So there's more to it than just the battle animations. And people have been making fun of the battle animations.
They are pretty crappy.
Some of them look bad. But it's Pokemon. They've always looked bad.
Oh yeah.
Like what? 100%. Dude, I agree. Like in the old games, tackle was literally your Pokemon would go, ugh. Like it would just move forward a little on the screen. It's like come on, guys. Like has Pokemon ever had great animations? Like let's be real.
You can't tell these people that, man.
It's I don't know.
You can't tell them that.
We'll see. As I said, still getting the game. I'm excited for this one.
I am too.
I'm still excited for it. So, all right, let's move on. Cyberpunk 2077, another controversy, man, dude. The fall from E3 has been ridiculous with this
Bonkers,
stuff.
Man.
So a controversy came out about Cyberpunk 2077. There was a picture of an in-game ad, not an in-game ad as in like they're advertising for real-world products. Like in the context of the world of Cyberpunk 2077, there was an ad for a product in the game world called it was some soda called Chromanticure, which is a soft drink. But it was being advertised by a trans person. Basically, it was a female looking person, but they had like a bulge. Yeah, you know, and they weren't wearing any pants. Like they just had like underwear on, and then like
it looks like a swimsuit type deal.
Kind of, sort of. And people took offense with this because many people believed that it was misrepresenting kind of trans people. Putting them in a bad light, I suppose, and this whole situation got unfortunate. The person who drew this or created this piece of art from the studio actually responded to this whole controversy, and they said, I quote, "Personally for me, this person is sexy. I like how this person looks. However, this model is used, their beautiful body is used for corporate reasons. They are displayed there just as a thing, and that's the terrible part of it." And then they said later on, I would say it was never the intention to offend anyone. However, with this image of an over-sexualized person, we did want to show how over-sexualization of people is bad, and that's it. So that was their quote. That was the only thing they really said, and people got pretty upset about this, saying that it just wasn't a good representation, I guess, of it. Like it makes trans people look bad in the context of our world. However, the thing I want to say about this is like, dude, first of all, it's a fictional universe, right? There's a context within the game world of this advertisement, right? And Cyberpunk in general has always been kind of a concept that
this is kind of
plays with the body a lot, and trans being, I mean, that's a huge part of being trans, right? So is these kind of body modifications are a big part of this world. So it's kind of a natural thing that's going to be in this game, and I expect that to be in this game a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
And maybe it's not going to be handled perfectly, but
I think people are looking at it the wrong way.
I do too.
I think what I looked at it as is there are trans models now in this world, This is obviously in 2077, where it's standard to be a trans model now. Like, so they're on the billboard ads.
Yeah, literally a corporate. It's like Coke having a trans model representing Coke.
But we don't. They're not even looking at the label anymore. They're just like, oh, okay, another model, whatever. Put him or her on.
Yep.
And model them, just how we do a supermodel for Victoria's Secret or whatever the thing may be.
In the context of this world, like the person said too, this person is probably perceived to be sexy.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So that's how I feel. That's how I feel about it. Like, I feel like if it was like a Tommy Hilfiger model or anything like that, or Calvin Klein, right? So Calvin Klein, they have male and female models. I mean, I feel like if they put a trans model in there, people will be celebrating it, and I think this is what it's saying now. Like, okay, we celebrate it now, but then it's going to be used as a tool.
Well, it's going to be hypersexualization eventually, right? The way women are hypersexualized as models, and even men are in the same way.
Exactly, and that's what I think the ultimate statement is. I don't think the statement is trying to poke fun at trans people, and I don't think it's trying to.
No, I think this was just kind of an innocuous thing.
Yeah.
It's like a lore building thing.
That I feel like that's
this is normal.
This is normal now.
This is the normal.
This isn't a controversy.
World. Like, and this is my problem with this whole situation is, yes, it needs to be handled in a certain way where it's not flippant and it's not.
Honestly, I had to really look at this to understand why everybody's tripping about it.
I didn't understand it either. And the thing I come away with this, and the thing I want to kind of impart to people is that, yes, you can't represent these things in an inappropriate way where you're not approaching the subject matter with care.
Yeah.
But we can't get mad at everybody who doesn't understand this perfectly, the perfect way every time they want to use this in their fiction, because what you're going to do then is that no one's going to use it in their fiction, and it's not going to be normalized in the sense of, like, trans imagery is not going to be normalized for regular people, right?
Exactly.
If it's not in anything, people aren't going to understand it.
Yeah.
This helps bring understanding. Yes, this conversation in and of itself maybe is good in that way that it helps people understand it better. But we need to allow artists to put these things in their media and explore these spaces so that we can all kind of understand it better, including them.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I agree with you.
So I think if we keep shouting these people down every time they try this stuff just because it's not 100% perfect, that's going to scare people away from trying it at all. And then guess what? You're just going to get white protagonists for the rest of your fucking lives because that's the safe thing to do.
Or you're going to get male and female. You're not going to get a trans option.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I think it's in this outrage is in the same context, but on the other side of the spectrum. Remember when Mass Effect came out?
Yeah.
And Fox News was like, "Oh my God, lesbians are kissing on screen." And then Mass Effect 3 came out. Lesbians are in
when the mainstream talks about video games. They're such imbeciles. Like,
and then Mass Effect 3 came out, and then your shepherd can become you can have a gay male shepherd. But it was but the way they talked about it in the game world of that in Mass Effect's reality, it was just so normal that they're like, yeah, that's my husband over here, blah blah blah. And when I was playing the game, I was so into the game that I didn't even realize that he said, yeah, this was my husband and my husband died, and I'm like, oh man, that's messed up, his husband died. Not thinking like, you know what, gay marriage is legal in this world because it's so normalized. I think this is what it's trying to do, what this artist is trying to do too as well, where people can walk past these billboards and be like, oh, it's a trans person on the billboard.
They don't even think of it. That thought doesn't even happen.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they don't even say trans. They're like, oh, look at this model here.
Yeah, look at the model. Yeah. It's so normal to them.
It's so normal to them that.
So that's kind of what I take out of it as well, and I think people getting upset about it is like, yes, we need to bring awareness to these things, but at the same time, if we yell everything down to the point where people are scared to do anything, you're never going to get the progression you want.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like, we have to talk about these issues as a civilized people, right? Throwing hate at CD Projekt Red and whatever other company or artist or whoever it is isn't really helpful. You know?
Yeah, I mean, on both sides as well.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like when I was when I did tweet about the Nessa situation, right? About her skin being fair, I explained. I tried to explain, even though he probably didn't see the tweet or whatever. He's a big tweeter or YouTuber or whatever. I don't know. He was on the side of like, they should be able to do this and everything of that nature. And I was trying to explain to him, like, hey, this is the reason why. I feel like if we have a conversation with people, people actually have a talk, then we can get to some kind of understanding. Like, this is why this, and that, and third. You're like, oh, okay, I understand now why. Yeah. Instead of being like, I'm offended. Yeah. Like, for instance, Tifa's breast, right?
I know,
Yeah, like, the more I had to explain, like, this is why this is not a third. But, I mean, there's still gamers out there who are upset that their games are being taken over and shit like that. And, okay, you can think that, bro, but it's just a certain way to handle stuff. It's a certain way to talk about stuff.
Yeah, let's actually be adults. Like, I'm really tired of everyone getting outraged about everything. Like, this whole episode has been full of
outrage
and controversies, and it's like the thing I take away from it is just like, we all need to calm down, dude.
Yes.
Like, this isn't. If we were all just calm and didn't really like get mad about this stuff as much, this would already be normal. Like,
we're not saying being passive about it. We're just saying have a actual discussion,
conversation.
Yeah,
try to have a discussion. If somebody does something wrong, don't yell at them.
Yeah,
explain to them.
Now, if they're being an asshole about it and they know what they're doing is wrong, that's a different story, right? We're not saying that.
At that point, like, just walk away. It's not even worth it. Like, if somebody's being an asshole, like, dude, I've interacted with plenty of assholes on the internet. It is not worth going down the rabbit hole of trying to argue with them.
Yeah,
just
especially
assholes.
on the internet.
Yeah. So it's like, but for other people who are maybe just ignorant or don't have a full understanding of things, like, explain it to them. Be respectful and explain it to them, and I'm sure people will be receptive to hearing what you have to say. When you just yell at people all the time, nobody's going to want to listen to you because nobody wants to be yelled at. It's literally as simple as that.
Yeah.
This is why I'm not on Twitter very much, because it's literally just people yelling at each other, and I don't it just makes me stressed. I don't want to deal with it. I have plenty of stress to deal with in my life on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I don't need to add a bunch of people fighting on Twitter to that. So it's like,
it kind of brings up another interesting point, I guess, before we move on. Like, I don't know if you've been recently following, but like Anita Sarkeesian, I guess she's going through some kind of financial difficulty. I appreciate that era of game media coverage with her. She, as much as like I thought the stuff that she was saying was inaccurate, I did appreciate her bringing the conversation to light about women in games and how we view women in games and things of that and different things of that nature, because a lot of stuff has changed. Because just think, if that conversation had happened, me and you, we're on the opposite side of, we don't really need women sexualized in our games as long as the games are good. But just think, if that conversation had happened, we had said something like that, and be like, you guys are, were you gay or whatever, like, how people talk stupid or whatever. But like, she brought that conversation to light, and it did change the stratosphere of how we look at it. Now, of course, she got some things inaccurate. I'm not going to lie about that.
Everything surrounding her is crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's the way she approached it. Like we said, she approached it in an aggressive manner.
Yes, she was extremely aggressive. Yeah. She belittled people who disagreed with her.
Exactly.
And that created a situation where, dude, that's what I was saying with things with her a while, where people are like sending death threats. They're like sending shit to her house, where she lives, like sending her like threatening notes and stuff to where she lives. Like, it's really scary stuff.
Yeah.
And it. I don't know if, like, I don't want to paint her as like, I don't want to paint it as her fault, because it's not. It's not. People shouldn't be doing that to her, regardless of how she acts. But if she was more measured, the chances of that happening are lower. Yeah. Right. So I think that's the thing in general.
On both sides too. People should control their
100%
emotions.
No, anybody sending death threats to anybody, you
need to get mentally checked out.
Yeah, you need to get help, dude. You need to make some friends and get mentally stable, because that's out of control. Like, so it's just the way we act will. It influences the discourses we have, right? So it's be more reasonable about things. Like, we need to be reasonable, So I don't know.
I think that's an interesting the interesting take from this is we need to be more reasonable as people.
Yeah.
Like there isn't any reason why technology advanced, cars advanced, everything advanced, but the way we have a conversation has regressed, in my opinion.
Totally, dude. Yeah, it's funny how as technology has gotten more powerful and more influential and more prevalent in our lives, our ability to communicate has just completely fallen apart.
Yeah.
It's like, man, dude, people's logic strains, like the way they logically figure things out too, is just it's I don't understand how these people think, how they get through their day-to-day at work without flipping out on 15 people, because it's like there are people out there who will literally be like, if you have an opinion, a certain opinion that aligns with some whatever part of the political spectrum that they disagree with, they don't even want to associate with you, period. Like they'll just block you and that's it. There's like, they don't want to even talk to you, even if you're reasonable, even if you aren't like super hardcore into whatever that opinion is. It's like, it's just an opinion you hold, you know, then you're not mean about it. It's like they just still don't want to associate with you, and that is destructive. When we don't want to talk to people we disagree with, then how do we have conversations?
We don't. That's the scary part.
Because then you're just creating a bubble where you agree with everyone you agree with, and guess what? That's like tribalism, you know.
Yeah, and we regress back into where we came back from.
Exactly. So I don't know. That's just what I want to take away from this. Is I think we like this thing with Cyberpunk has kind of evolved over the course of the past 2 weeks too. It's like become more about the game itself. Is the game going to represent trans people in a good way? Is it going to represent other things in good ways?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are starting to sour on the game in a weird way because of this stuff, because they don't think CD Projekt Red can portray this stuff in a good way.
I think it's going to, in my opinion, I just think it's going to take a whole bunch of interesting takes on like race, gender, sexual preference, and things of that nature.
Humans in general.
Yeah.
Human modification is like, that's a thing that this series and then Deus Ex kind of tackle in interesting ways. It's a very interesting, and I think this is the most realistic future for us is augmenting our bodies with mechanical parts.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's an interesting discussion that is going to, I don't know, it's just an interesting topic for me. So, I don't know, it's like there's a lot of facets to this world that they've built with this, and I want to see it, and I want to see it as they want us to see it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want them to change things because they want to cater to a certain crowd that is
what CD Projekt Red does. I don't think they're going to change anything.
I don't think so.
They're going to stick to their guns and just 100%. Go through it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Enough of that. Let's move on to another controversy. So Shenmue 3, this was a Kickstarter game. So this game was announced on Sony's E3 stage back in 2015 or 16. I don't remember. It was one of those 2 years. And they announced a Kickstarter on stage, which was the weirdest thing. People were really excited, though, because people love Shenmue 1 and 2. This game actually was hugely successful on Kickstarter. It raised like $5 million or so.
Yeah.
Well, it came out a couple weeks ago that it is going to be an Epic Game Store exclusive on PC. And yikes, this situation is ugly as hell. So people got really upset about this for obvious reasons, which we'll get into in a second. But many people who had the PC, wanted the PC version of the game, want refunds now because they don't want it on Epic Game Store. But the developers for Shenmue 3, or the company, is not going to be issuing refunds at all to anybody. Period. Like that's what's come out of this. And dude, this is an ugly situation because this is the second Kickstarter that I think we've talked about that's gone Epic Store exclusive.
Yeah, what was the first one?
It was a small game, Phoenix, some kind of Phoenix something. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a much smaller game than Shenmue 3.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as big of a deal. But even that is the same situation. Like, dude, people back your game with the expectation that they're going to be able to play it on the platforms that you say when you post the Kickstarter, right? And PC is one of the ones listed. And the assumption, obviously, with that back in the day, I mean, this was before the Epic Store even existed, was that you'd be able to play it on Steam, right? So now going back now, like it's not. I don't know if it was explicitly stated you could play it on Steam anywhere in their Kickstarter. If it was, that's
I know it said PS4.
That's
but...
a huge yikes. But I assume it probably just said PC.
Yeah,
probably.
PC,
That's usually the verbiage most developers use when they're talking about PC. They don't really say Steam. So that's always just kind of been the assumption. So even given the fact that they might not have mentioned Steam, though, it is kind of skeevy to kickstart your game with kind of this unsaid assumption that the game's going to be on a certain digital storefront.
Yep.
And then when you then make it exclusive to a different digital storefront that people don't like.
Yep.
And then when people decide they don't want the game anymore because of that, not give them refunds. That's really backhanded because these are the people that made this game a reality.
Yep.
Like, they're the reason this game exists. If this game didn't get the support it didn't get, it would not have gotten picked up by a publisher.
Yep.
Which is another thing. That's another questionable part of it, too, is the fact that it got picked up by a publisher. Then they're getting even more money from Epic to make it an exclusive. So maybe they needed the money. It's possible they needed the money. They were struggling with development, but I mean, even so, dude, that's, I don't know. It's not a good luck for this game at all. Like, I think it's an unfortunate thing. It's similar to Obsidian back when they got bought by Microsoft.
Yeah.
That many of the people were upset that kickstarted Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2. Like, we didn't kickstart this game so you could go get bought by corporate, you know? Like, we kickstarted this game so you could survive as a studio and make the games we want, you know? So it's the same kind of thing here, and it's kind of an unfortunate situation. I feel really bad for people who kickstarted this game. Like, you're kind of between a rock and a hard place now. Like, you're not going to get your money back.
Yeah, and you have to go into the storefront that you don't want to, you know?
Yeah.
Support that. Epic is really aggressive, man.
Dude, they're still doing this. It's crazy.
They're super aggressive. I don't know. I don't think this is going to change anytime soon.
No, they keep saying that they're not going to do this forever, and it's like, well, what is forever? I mean, it's forever could literally be 10 years from now, you know?
And I understand you're trying to get people onto your platform, but I mean, people need the reason why people like Steam because it has a lot of offers and it has a lot of services there that we complain about.
Features and everything.
Features that we complain about that's there, but I don't know. It seems like Valve is still not making any moves, man. I think what you said is true. They're just like, take it, please, please get these guys.
I'm telling you, man, they don't. I just don't think they care that much. Like, they're a weird company, dude. I think they are so like liquid that they don't really give a shit. Like, they could probably not sell a game on Steam for like 10 years and still be fine because they're not that big. I think they only have like 500 employees or something like that. Like, they're not a big company, dude. But I mean, they got to be rolling in money. Like,
they have to be, man.
It's wild. So
Gaben is just chilling over there.
Gaben just chilling, man. Man, dude, I'd love to just see a day in the life of Gaben. Just what he's up to, man. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't know. I mean, I think we're just gonna keep seeing this though. They're targeting very specific games, and I mean, they're getting a lot of them. So, I mean, I still can't believe Borderlands 3 is gonna be exclusive on the Epic Store.
I forgot all about that shit.
That, dude. Like, that is a huge game. That's a huge get for them, you know? That's one of those ones, too, that I wonder if Steam's going to really feel the hit on that one, you know?
Yeah, because I would think they would want to release it on both storefronts to maximize their profits. But, hey, man.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if it matters. All right, moving on. Let's move on to games release list. So I was looking at the next couple weeks, and we missed last week, so there's a few games I want to mention on here. There was Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, actually came out last week. That game has gotten actually pretty good reviews. But
there's a game-breaking glitch in there.
I think it's already fixed.
Okay.
So if you haven't bought it yet, you should be safe. There was a game-breaking bug though that was like emptying chests that you hadn't opened. You couldn't get the items in them.
Yep.
So you couldn't like progress the game anymore. It was crazy. It's crazy stuff. But that game came out. There was My Friend Pedro. This game looks hilarious. It's like this 2D like shooting game.
Oh yeah,
yeah, dude, like it's super acrobatic and stuff.
That game, I really wanted to buy that.
It looks so funny. It's like I don't know.
It looks so fun to me.
Yeah, it looks really fun. CTR came out as well. Crash Team Racing, the remake. This game is getting very, very positive buzz. Mario Kart better watch out, man, because, dude, if they start making these again, like making more of these...
It's actually very polished, too.
It looks really fun. Dude, it reminds me of Diddy Kong Racing
too, a
lot, because it has the same adventure mode style thing. And I've been thinking about getting this game. Like, I've been legitimately thinking about it, but it's like, who am I going to play it with? Like,
I'll buy it.
I know, but like, dude, we're gonna play
Switch.
Are we gonna play it though?
We can get on the Switch.
I know we can get on Switch, man. Get on Switch.
I'm surprised it's on the Switch. Actually, yeah, Mario Kart better watch out, man.
They better watch out, because, dude, I've heard that a lot of people that like Mario Kart think this game's better than Mario Kart by like a wide margin. Actually, there's a Nintendo YouTuber that I watch, and dude, he was playing this game on his channel, and he was like, yeah, this game's better than Mario Kart 8.
Really?
I was like, damn, like, man, if he's doing it, like, holy crap, he's not kidding around. Well, it's because the thing is, Mario Kart has a lot of issues with rubber banding. And obviously the game is designed as well for the person in last to be able to catch up.
Yeah.
Like, the game just has a lot of catch-up mechanics in it. And that's not fun in a racer, you know?
It's not.
When you're in first, you don't want to feel like people are getting a boost to catch back up to you. Like, that's not really a fun experience.
That's why I hate being in first.
Effing hate that, dude.
Man.
Yeah, no, it sucks. Yeah, no, the strategy of Mario Kart is to be in second and then win at the very end of the race.
Exactly,
Like, that's how you win a Mario Kart. You know, so CTR doesn't really have that. As much.
But if this game gets really popular, maybe Microsoft will talk Rare into making another Diddy Kong Racing game.
Yeah.
That was actually my favorite racer.
Man, they wouldn't be able to, though, because Nintendo owns Donkey Kong. So.
But I thought that was Rare. I thought Rare made that game.
They made the game, yeah, but Nintendo owns the IP.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe Nintendo, though, will get somebody to make a Diddy Kong Racing 2.
Yeah,
Dude, Diddy Kong Racing is super good.
Yeah.
That is such a good game.
The way you can use 3 different vehicles in the same level.
Yeah, man. And the adventure mode, the giant pig guy.
Yeah.
And, dude, the end of that game is really cool, too, because there's all these, like, space levels and stuff. It's, like, super fun, man. So, I don't know. I might check out CTR, but... it's one of those things, like, I don't want to pay full price for it, so I'll probably wait till later in the year when it's cheaper. But there was that. Let's see what else. This is coming out this week. Super Mario Maker 2, which looks way better than the first one, I will say. But I'm not going to get it. But, you know, looks a lot more robust than the last one. That's pretty much it. Anything for you?
This week? Coming out this week, right? Yeah. We got Heavy Rain coming out on PC, man.
Heavy Rain on PC.
You got Judgment coming out, which is from the makers of Yakuza franchise. They made a brand new
that's right. Yeah.
You got Samurai Showdown, which is another old fighting game from SNK.
That's true.
It came out this week.
There's a Spider-Man VR tie-in game.
I fucking hate VR.
Terraria's coming out on Switch.
Oh, cool.
That's like a 2D Minecraft kind of game.
And I don't know what the Star Wars thing is. I don't know what that is.
I have no idea what that is either.
I think it's like an old ass Star Wars game, really old Star Wars game. But yeah, man, if I had the money right now, I'd definitely buy Judgment because I really love Yakuza games.
Final Fantasy 14 new expansion's coming out. Shadowbringers.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm thinking about 15. I'm like, I can fucking play that game.
They ended development on 15.
Thank God.
Let's not linger on that.
Okay. Anyway, moving on.
Super Neptunia RPG as well. Those are funny RPGs about the console wars. That's pretty much it. There's actually a lot coming out this week, though.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough. All right, let's move on to the topic of the show. So an expose came out today about Treyarch, the makers of Black Ops 4, and this was by Kotaku, Jason Schreier once again. This was a very similar article to the Anthem one, but was very focused. So this article, I'm going to just summarize it pretty quickly. Basically, he had a bunch of sources come to him, and he, I think he said he had like 11 different people, that former and current Treyarch employees, that spoke to him and talked primarily about the QA department, the kind of state of the QA department in Treyarch, and it painted a very horrific picture.
Yes.
That these people are basically treated as second-class citizens within Treyarch. Many of them are contractors, so they are excluded from many company things because of the fact that they're contractors. Even the ones that aren't contractors that are in QA are still treated as second-class citizens. They are encouraged not to speak to the regular developers. They have to park in a different parking lot from the other developers.
Very segregated.
They don't get bonuses. They don't get bonuses if the company gets bonuses. Like holiday the contractors
pay.
don't.
Yeah.
There was this part. Oh my god. There was this part about holiday pay where they changed the policy about holiday pay. You basically couldn't miss a single day 13 weeks in advance of the holiday, or you lose your pay for the holiday.
Yep.
Like you wouldn't get your pay for it. So that was pretty yikes. Many of these people don't get PTO at all. They only get sick days. Which is ridiculous.
And the studios in California are in Los Angeles, Santa Monica area, I believe.
Yep.
So if you're familiar with California, you know how high prices are over there on the West Coast. And these people are only getting paid $1 above. Some of them, majority of them, are getting paid $1 above minimum wage.
Yeah, it was $13 an hour, which is an insane. That would be hard to live off here in Texas.
Some of them were getting paid like $30 an hour, but that was like
that's a super rare,
super rare case. But I think it's time. I know we've been on the fence about it, but I'm totally on the field of like unionizing.
Well,
now.
the problem though, dude, is in this case is these people are contractors, so that doesn't apply to them. You know,
that's true.
That they wouldn't be represented in this situation. So obviously, the people that aren't contractors would be able to. But this was just a particularly ugly story about one company, I think, being ugly to their employees. I mean, there's other stuff in there that's pretty gross too. Like there was a party for like recently this past week where like they were invited to the party and people were surprised because they never invite QA to any of the parties. Like, and they were only allowed to go for 20 minutes or something like that. It's like, what the hell, dude?
They're even told when they have like company dinners and stuff like that, like, oh, wait an hour, then you can come in there and get the scraps.
Yeah, they would like cater food for the developers, and they'd have to wait an hour to get whatever was left over that the developers didn't want to eat.
Like you think this sounds like a Cinderella story or some shit like that, but this is like real life, man.
Well,
like,
dude, yeah, and then there was the part as well about the air conditioning.
Oh my god!
Where they have two. So, okay, let's like go through the whole thing. I guess like there basically there was tons of crunch for Black Ops 4 because the development changed dramatically within the last calendar year of it. They took out the campaign. They were trying to make a different campaign. They realized they couldn't do it in 9 months, so they decided to make the Battle Royale mode Blackout. Right. And in order to do that, they had to crunch. So the whole studio crunched, not just the QA team, but the QA team, what they did was they were doing 12-hour shifts, basically.
Yep.
And they had two different shifts, a day shift and a night shift. Day shift would do 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Night shift would do 10 p.m. to 10 a.m.
Yep.
Right? So they'd have people in the building 24/7. What was happening, though, the night shift, they were turning the air conditioning off when they left, like the developers or like the higher ups of the company or whatever, were turning the AC off when they left.
And this isn't like Texas where it has to be mandatory.
Yeah. They were turning it off, and I mean, LA gets hot and it gets humid, and they were saying it was getting up to 90 degrees in there. And people were just like sweating like crazy, dude. So it was a miserable working environment for the people on the night shift too. And it's just like stuff like that is littered in this article. These kind of things, and it, like they had to like complain, and they finally did it. And they finally started doing it, but then they were like forget some days, and they were stopped doing it altogether again. And it was like, man, this is a really, really ugly article. I really feel for these people that they're in a terrible situation, and I don't to me it's any of these people should be looking for a different job, work at a better company, but it's hard to say though. That's easy to say. It's hard to look for jobs especially when you're working. Exactly. And especially when you're working 12 hours a day, so
to me the takeaway from this though, and it's kind of indicative of the whole industry and how it's changed as a whole.
Yeah.
How they view QA testers.
Yeah.
They view them as, I guess it's like culture in general, work culture in general, how we view some like we view the janitors sometime as the unskilled laborer.
People that work in the cafeteria.
Like you said earlier, like off podcast, like, you know, these people have skills. Because are you gonna do it? No, then shut up. Like,
yeah, no, they're treated poorly because those jobs are perceived to be something that anybody could do.
Yeah,
but just because anybody can do it doesn't mean that anybody will do it.
Exactly.
Like, those jobs are valuable because there are people willing to take them, right? Like, as I said, like being a janitor, you're not going to be a janitor. It's the same, like we do tech support, right? That's kind of a jack of, like, it's a general term. We do more than that, but that's like we are sometimes not treated well either, and it's one of those things. Like, yes, it's not a glamorous job, but you're not going to do it. You're not going to take care of your own device. You know, You're not going to take care of your own equipment. It's the same thing with janitorial people. You're not going to take your own trash. Dude, I used to work in the warehouse, and when I came into the office, it astounded me how little regard people have for just basic decency. Like, they will not take their own trash. Like, we would get packages and stuff, and people would get packages, and they just, like, leave it for the janitor staff to deal with.
That's crazy.
Like, it's like they wouldn't like get rid of the box, you know? We have, like, cardboard recycling bins, you know, right outside the office that you can go put stuff in, but people wouldn't do it. It's like, it's not what I do, you know? It's like, so it's like that kind of perception. I feel like it's the same thing happening here, and it's just messed up, dude. Like, QA testers are extremely important to video game. But the idea that people think it's unskilled labor to be a QA tester is absolutely absurd. Completely absurd. That is ridiculous. Like, of course it takes skill to be able to find bugs and identify bugs, and tell, like, identify the right bugs too, like ones that are high impact. You know, those that takes skill. Of course it takes skill. There's a certain level of, you have to, like, problem solve and, like, come up with it's creativity too, like figuring out how to break the game.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? There's a certain level of creativity to it as well, and it's like, dude, anybody that views people in those fields as less than or unskilled.
Well, I think the whole industry kind of views them as that, and that's why we get these games now where they kind of skip out on the QA part because, oh, we don't need them. I mean, whether it be for money reasons or just crunch reasons or trying to get stuff out, or I think it's much bigger than that. I think it's more so an ego thing, because a lot of these developers feel like, wish they have the right to feel like this is my piece of art, and then you're trying to break my art. And it's like, yeah, but your art is also being interactive with other people.
That mentality too is very close-minded, because it's like they're not trying to criticize you.
Exactly.
They want it to be like a QA tester. Somebody who really truly cares about their job as a QA tester wants the software to be as good as it can be. Yep. Right? So how do you do that? By finding the flaws and fixing them. It has nothing to do with ego. It's not like, oh, you fucked this up. That's not what it's about. It's this is broken for whatever reason. This is broken. We need to fix this to make the software better. That's all it is, dude. And anybody taking it the other way, where they're like, oh, you're insulting my art. It's like, dude, you're just like, you need to get out of your own ass. Like, I agree. That's not what it is.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause I used to wonder. I used to see QA testers on the credits, like I said earlier. Yeah. I don't hardly see that anymore. Yeah. But I just think it's really fascinating how this article came out, and I was just thinking how the quality of games went bad, are getting worse. I mean, they're probably going to improve, but like at one point, I'll say from like 2015 to now, like games are like broken mess. And
well, this whole gen has been that's kind of been the theme for the whole generation, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, you remember Assassin's Creed Unity?
Oh my god.
Holy crap, dude. Like
how did that stuff not get through to them?
Well, they just decided it wasn't. They either didn't have time, they didn't want to invest the resources for whatever reason. Same thing with Anthem, right? They decided at a certain point that they just had to release the game. Yeah. Whatever state it was in, they had to release the game. And for better or worse, that's what happens, right? So I think, I don't know. I'm glad this article came out. I hope that this sparks some more discussion. Yeah. The way the Anthem one did. I don't know if it will, because I don't think people care about Treyarch the way they care about BioWare. You know, that's like I just think perceptively, I don't think Treyarch's gonna generate as much buzz as BioWare did.
Well, if anything, it's gonna make them hate Activision and like maybe Call of Duty 100%.
But dude, again though, the way this paints a picture that it's Treyarch.
Yep.
Treyarch studio culture. It's not Activision coming in and being like, hey, you can't, your QA testers can't interact with the developers.
I always used to wonder how they treated the contractors in comparison to not just Treyarch,
awful.
but like other developers.
Yeah, it's probably awful, dude.
Yeah, because
they're probably. I think I'm gonna bet a lot of them are looked at as disposable labor.
Yeah,
you know, where they're just like a body they can get rid of.
Yep.
Whereas that person could become a valuable employee if you really wanted to invest in them. But,
yeah.
You know, I'm sure that happens sometimes too. I'm sure some of them do get hired on.
Well,
but
I mean, this kind of solidifies my feeling. How I said earlier, off podcast.
Stream. Yeah, come on, don't get too ambitious, man. We're not there yet. All right.
Off podcast, that I'm kind of glad that I shifted I had a minor in like networking and things of that nature and doing IT stuff because it's egregious. Like the way the industry is now and how everything was coming out now is egregious. And I just remember my teacher telling us how bad it was way back in 2010.
Yeah.
And games weren't even mainstream then, so like they are now. And we did a project, and he purposely made us crunch to do this, or we all were going to fail. And then at the end, he's like, "You're not going to fail. I just wanted you guys to feel the crunch."
Yeah.
And that changed my perspective. I still wanted to get into the industry because I'm like, oh, he's over exaggerating. But as time progressed and more time progressed and things of that nature, I just started looking at the industry, the politics behind it, and now the work culture
started coming out.
Yeah, and it's just like I'm glad I made the career choice I made.
Well, I'm in a similar boat because I also wanted to get into games, and to a certain degree I still do want to, but my personal path with that has kind of changed in my head.
Yeah.
I am much more of the realm, like, if I'm going to get into games, I'm going to do it by myself.
Yep.
I'm not going to go join a company and do it, and it's I don't want to be a part of this kind of thing. It's like this is ugly stuff, dude. I don't want to be forced to work 12 hours. And I will say in this article, he did mention that many of these folks were paid overtime for the work, and they were paid double time for working more than 12 hours or whatever. Which that does not exonerate Treyarch in any way for the treatment of these people. But it's better than some situations like BioWare where these people weren't actually paid for their extra time. But still, that doesn't justify making somebody work 60, 70 hours a week, coming in 7 days in a row.
Having these ridiculous policies where they miss holiday pay.
It's horrifying. Yeah, that's
PTO and things of that nature.
So that's terrible stuff. And I think some of the people in here said that they were actually happy with the crunch because they were making more money because of it. But that's a messed up situation, dude.
Yeah.
Like, pay them more so that they don't have to work 12 hours to be able to make ends meet in LA.
That's a whole deeper conversation.
That's ridiculous, dude. Like, that's completely absurd. So I don't know. This article is definitely worth a good read. It's the interesting things about what they've done with what they did with Black Ops 4, what they were forced to do with Black Ops 4 after they scrapped the campaign.
I thought that campaign idea was kind of...
It was cool. It was like a 2v2 where you would be playing with a co-op partner against two other human players potentially, and you would have different objectives that they would be defending, you'd be attacking potentially, which was kind of interesting. That was kind of cool, but it's unfortunate they scrapped it. But yeah, then they mentioned that it was announced that they're going to be working on another Black Ops game for 2020, which is next year.
And they didn't even get notified to the Kotaku article.
Exactly. Yeah, dude. Yeah, and like the tester department doesn't even get notified until the Kotaku article, and then they bring it up, and they're like, "Oh, don't worry about it."
So I mean, now this is only like maybe 10% of the reason why they act like that towards them, but apparently, like they leaked a huge Easter egg thing.
Oh, that's
one of the
right.
testers
For Black Ops 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, after they
mode.
left the company, they went on Reddit and leaked a bunch.
So that's why they're like really like.
But that's juvenile.
That is.
That's extremely juvenile. Like,
I feel like if they treated their workers better. I mean, because I'm pretty sure we had tons of testers in these video game fields.
Yeah.
And we only get like maybe sometimes the leak's not even from the testers. It's from the actual employees themselves.
Well, dude, the other thing too with that is you're gonna get mad at the department a person who left the company worked at because that person who left the company decided to leak a bunch of information. Like, that's completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with the current employees? Like, that's crazy.
Also, I wonder how the environment is. Like, for like, I know I was in an environment. I used to work for this one company, and we used to deal with credit cards and stuff like that over the phone.
Yeah.
We couldn't have any notepads. We couldn't have any cell phones. We couldn't do anything. It made the environment like really, really tense.
Yeah.
Just because we were potentially, we didn't even work directly with the credit cards. It's just potentially you could have that one offshoot where you had to deal with the credit card, and it was like, yeah, no credit card or no notebooks, no nothing, no books. If you have a book, it got to be laminated. If you got pages, it got to be laminated. And it made the work environment very, 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 very tense.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine how tense, excuse me, this work environment is, especially working with a video game, how they take leaks so seriously. Like, I wonder how egregious it was in there as far as that.
Yeah.
They really don't go into it as far as that, but I can only imagine, like, just coming into work, it was probably just like, ugh.
But dude, people shouldn't have to work in these conditions.
They
Like,
shouldn't.
This is not okay. I don't understand how companies get away with this stuff too. It's like,
well, it's the game industry. It's still, I think it's relatively young. They already handled this in movies. They already handled this in like other media.
yeah, but they handled it through unions. And
Yeah.
I like. I get that that's a solution, but why? I don't know. I guess it's because the United States is run through businesses.
Yeah.
But there should be more laws for stuff like this. Like,
Oh, I 100% agree.
you shouldn't be allowed. You should literally not be allowed to work people the amount of hours that people are working in the video game industry.
I mean,
like, per week.
Look at EA, man.
It's crazy.
Look at EA. They will push the ball until they can't push it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, someone has to literally force them to not make money anymore. Like, this is, you can't do this. So I feel like that's what they're doing with their workers. They're pushing all this. I mean, not to mention their CEO, Activision CEO, just got like a $15 million boost. You know what I'm saying? So,
oh my god, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying that that's from Treyarch.
Well, that was mentioned in this article too. Is that he got a bonus, and people in the QA department were like, "What the hell? We're getting paid $13 an hour, and this guy gets a $15 million bonus for getting hired."
Yeah.
Like, what? So yeah, I don't know. It's just
the game industry is becoming really, really, really
gross, man.
Sweatshop.
Why? I just don't. I don't understand how these things happen.
Well,
why companies think this is a good way to run your company. You know,
I think it's on both sides, right? The demand for games are gamers have this unrealistic expectation. That's why we need exposés like this and stuff like that. True. Because
that's what we were saying about Pokemon, right?
Exactly,
right?
Like,
we don't want developers to crunch because of that,
exactly,
right?
Because we have situations like Pokemon, so developers listen to that as a demand. Like, okay, we have to do this because our consumers will get upset.
Yeah.
And then that in turn has put this crunch on these developers, and then the developers kind of take that out on probably the contractors, and then the contractors get this shit end of the stick on everything, you know? Yep. So it's like a revolving cycle.
Well, it hurts their morale too, and they probably don't work as efficiently as they would because they're so...
And then it leads to leaks. Like, I'm pretty sure that Reddit user...
Of course. That person was probably a disgruntled employee.
Exactly.
Who hated this company and was done with it and was like, this was their middle finger to them on the way out the door.
Yeah, and it spoils it for everybody, so...
Yeah, but... And the other part of it too is that they're like making them work 60 hours, 70 hours. Eventually, they're going to work less efficiently every hour, and you're paying them more money those later hours, and they're not working as well for you as they were in hour one. You know, it's like, it doesn't make sense. You're getting diminishing returns for making people work more. You know, you should just hire more people and pay them all equitably and pay them well, so that you don't have this issue, and then you're going to have people who want to work for you. That's what I don't understand with companies, why they don't want to engender loyalty in their employees. It makes no sense to me, because when you have employees who are passionate about your company, they will break their fucking backs for you. Seriously.
I really think some of the higher ups, and I think they did a study about this,
Yeah.
Like some of the executives and things of that nature, not all of them, but like executives, CEOs, CFOs, and things of that nature have some type of chemical imbalance in their head where they are, like, I'm not just throwing this word, I throw it around, but either a sociopath or a psychopath, or they can't understand that concept.
Yeah.
Like, they can't understand the concept of the average worker and how, you know, all they see is the dollar signs. All they see is this one objective. That's their objective. Like, you gotta kind of be like that. I mean, we can change the stratosphere of that, but a lot of people have been taught, like, if you want to be a leader, you can't look at, you know, the negatives. You just gotta go. You gotta be a leader. You gotta do this. So they say, like, a lot of our presidents in the United States are leaders and stuff of that nature. The reason why they make decisions they can make and can get through it mentally is because they kind of block it off mentally. Like, they kind of turn that receptor off in their brains.
Which, I mean, I get that, but when... I just think if you think about the fundamental nature of the day-to-day of a business, which is, I mean, if you want to make money, this should matter to you. I don't care what leadership position you're in. I don't care what you need to block off in your fucking brain. Yeah,
I agree with you.
You should care about the day-to-day of your business, how your business is run and operated.
I think the best businesses are ran by people who
are cognizant of that stuff and actually try to improve it.
Yeah,
right?
who start a lot of the businesses, like I say, like Xbox, for example. Phil Spencer, he started kind of at the bottom. He was a working person, and within Xbox, he knew how things worked. He worked with these people, and now he's a CEO of Xbox, and he's making moves to facilitate that. You know, it's like, it's not the moves he's making. The moves that he's making are not typical CEO moves. Whereas we got something like, which unironically is what's his name, Andrew
Wilson,
who was a developer, but it seems like he just doesn't care. Like, you know. So I feel like the companies that are the most successful, they interact with their employees. They may not necessarily start at the bottom, but they interact with their employees. They know what's going on at the bottom. Because you ever watch that show, I Work With My Boss, or Hidden Boss, or something like that?
The Undercover Boss.
The Undercover Boss. And, like, I think they did a study, like, those businesses, like, the employee, like, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. The employee appreciation of the business. Morale went up. Like, I mean, they did surveys after they did that because the boss understood how just his common employees were
they're
working.
Separated. So I think that show actually was a really cool show because it exposed how separated they are from their regular employees. Like, our CEO, for instance, works in the same building as us and is kind of mingled amongst us, so like, our building is small enough where she sees most of us most of the time, right? But I think a lot of other companies are not in that situation where, like, if you're in a multi-level building, like 10 floors, 20 floors, your CEO is probably on the top floor and completely isolated from everybody else, and, like, has no reason to go to those other floors, so they never see anybody and they never interact with anybody unless they need to for business reasons.
I agree.
Right? So that is probably the reality of it. They get isolated and insulated from what is happening around them, and they don't really. So that's my issue, though. If you're in that position of power, like, I know this is easy to say for somebody who, like me, but if I were a CEO of a company, I would every so often, maybe once a month, maybe every quarter or something like that, I would spend a day amongst. Like, I wouldn't do any of my CEO duties for that day. I would just spend a day with the employees and see how they work. Yeah. You know? Just spend a day with them. Whatever, like, maybe I pick a different department every quarter, you know, and go see how they operate, you know, and get an understanding for how they do things. Because if they're not doing things efficiently, or they're not happy with how things are run, they're not going to work as well, right? Happy workers are what you want. When you have unhappy workers, they're not going to be motivated to do their job very well.
Well,
right?
in this article, right, they said that they send out surveys. Treyarch sends out surveys for the developers,
service for the company, right?
Yeah, for the developers, but that never makes it to the contractors
or the QA team. I think in general, right?
And the contractors actually through a separate team called Vote. Yep. So how would you combat that when you're like, see, our company's very happy, and it's like, is it really happy, or how your contractors doing in that situation? Because I don't even think our company like asks the contractors how they're doing. But the difference is our contractors like. Well, in our case, in our department, we actually commingle with them and things of that nature.
Well, I mean, they're fairly well treated. I would say it depends. It probably depends on the department.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, it's complicated, but dude, when you should never create a situation where you have employees in your company that are pitted against other employees. Yeah, which is what seems to be happening here. Everybody else is pitted against QA. QA, they don't like QA. QA doesn't like them. I mean, that is harmful. How do you work properly together if you're not even willing to communicate with each other? You don't want to communicate with each other. Like you don't want them to report bugs. Like that's insane, dude. That's crazy. So I think it is reflected in our games too. I don't necessarily think this level of it is that prevalent, but I think that opinion of less than QA people being less than is probably pretty prevalent, and I think that probably creates environments where they're not able to do their jobs as well, and then that reflects in the games being buggier, which we've definitely seen an uptick of that this generation. So I think I feel like gaming has hit a point where I think, because we talk about developers a lot, and individual named developers are way more known to gamers than they used to be, and I think that has created a kind of almost celebrity situation amongst the dev teams, right? Okay. Like certain dev teams, it may have just gone to their heads almost, right? Like where they're kind of now full of themselves. They believe they're as cool as everybody says they are. And like back in the 90s, nobody knew who the fuck anybody was, right? That's true, yeah. So it's like you were literally doing it out of pure passion, but that changes over time as your audience's opinion of you changes, right? Yeah. And you interact with them. So I don't know. I think it's a multi-layered situation. As more exposure happens for devs, they may get more egotistical and more power hungry and more justified in treating people poorly. Yeah. In order to achieve what they believe is better for their game, right? Yeah. Which is possible. It could also be possible too that many of these publishers are terrible influences, There's so much pressure to get it. Because, I mean, that is part of this with Treyarch, is that they have a deadline with Call of Duty that they cannot miss. They don't get to delay Call of Duty. Yeah, that doesn't happen. That is never going to happen as long as Call of Duty keeps coming out on a yearly schedule. And so that is a level of pressure that's difficult to deal with, right? I mean,
they mentioned in the article that people want to take a break and try to come back and revitalize the franchise, how they did Assassin's Creed, how they just took a year off, or I think it was a couple of years, but they said
took a year.
Yeah, it took a year off, which I don't think is enough time to revitalize the series, but
they did a good job though.
Yeah, they did. Odyssey was pretty cool. I liked it.
Well, Origins was the one that Origins was the one that was a year off. Odyssey, I don't really know how Ubisoft does this, but I'm pretty sure they have multiple dev teams working on Assassin's Creed games at the same time, so that's probably what happened there. There's no way they made Odyssey in a year. Yeah. The game is way too big. So.
But I think maybe Call of Duty should try to go back to the drawing board for a while. I mean, give your developers a break.
I agree. I hope they do. I don't know. This is a really disappointing read. Like, the further I got into it, the more I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, I was really depressed by the end of this article. Ugh. I was just like, whoa.
This is just a yikes situation.
Like, when I read BioWare's article, I don't know. It was just more like, I knew it, and I was like, aha moment. Yeah. But, like, this was like, there was no reason for this article to come out. Like, there was no, because Black Ops came out last year. So, it was just like, whoa, they went through all this. Like, this is very depressing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it said, too, that they've been crunching since the game came out, too. Working on bugs and stuff. And then now they have to make another game in a year and a half. And it's like, yeah, they're going to be crunching probably for another year and a half. When does it end? Never. It's never going to end, right? Like, that's kind of the reality I got out of this article by the end of it.
And I'm pretty sure they're not being treated any better because of this article. Now this article came out.
No, they're probably going to get blasted because of this now. right? I mean, that is the unfortunate part of it is like, I know Jason's very cognizant of this. He's talked about this before on Twitter and Reddit and stuff, that he's very careful with what he publishes because of who it can affect, right? And this is one of those things. I think this article is necessary to get out there, and clearly people at Treyarch wanted to talk to him too, right? He got a lot of information, but that is definitely something I would be worried about. But the thing is now that the spotlight is on them, I think they would be more careful to treat them differently.
I mean, I don't know, man. I never underestimate the power of human cruelty.
I know, but the thing is if they do that, it's very possible Jason will fall back up on this in 6 months and see what's going on.
Yeah, that's true.
And if they got worse after this, I mean, he's just going to publish another article, right? And the publicity is going to just keep building and building and building. So, I think that's ultimately probably why he published this. Is that I think he realizes that this puts Treyarch in a position where they probably have to at least somewhat change things for the positive, right?
Yeah.
So, hopefully that's what happens. We'll see. Another good article, though, by Jason and Kotaku. I love these reads. They're just so, like, they're so meaty. There's so much information in them.
Yeah, they are. I mean,
they're presented in such a great way. So, I really appreciate these. But you got anything else to say on this topic?
Nope, that's it.
Nothing? All right, guys. That is going to be it for episode 26. If you like this episode, please like the episode wherever you listen to it, and then review, and then subscribe to the show, whatever feed you're on. And if you could share it with your friends, we would also really appreciate that. If you want to talk to us on Twitter, Montrell is at iTrap4 the Hokage. That is the number 4, not the word. I am at ThunderNet01. The podcast is at The Player's Take. If you want to send us a question, you can do so at theplayerstake01@gmail.com. As we said, this next episode is going to be kind of a one-off on a specific topic that Montrell and I are going to decide, so it is going to be a bit shorter on the short end, but in a couple weeks we'll be back to the normal schedule for a little while. So we hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we will see you on the next one. All right, bye guys.